Hey, what's going on, everybody? Let me get the camera fixed here. Try that again. Hello, how's it going? Oh, why is my camera not working? Dang it, OBS. It's always something with you. Welcome to the stream. I'm Ian Douglas. Let me get my camera working here. Camera off, camera on. There we go. Hello. Welcome to the stream. I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of this website, techinterview.guide, streaming on Kick and on YouTube this morning, as well as on Twitch. I normally stream on just Twitch, but I'm going to try out YouTube and Kick for the day and see what kind of engagement we get over there as well. It's April, which means we're doing our month-long giveaway. So if you want to participate in the giveaway, you got to come to Twitch to do it because Chatbot doesn't work on all these other platforms. So if you want to enter the giveaway, you totally can. You just have to come over to Twitch and type !giveaway and chat over there, and you'll be entered in the daily giveaway. And then as part of the daily giveaway, you're also entered into a monthly giveaway. And so for the smaller giveaways that we do every day, it's going to be something small that I can like stick in a flat envelope and send to you. And for the month-long giveaway, it's actually going to be it's still a work in progress, but it'll be finished by the end of the month. But it's going to be a giant airbrushed 3D printed dragon that I've been putting together, and I need to finish up some highlights and some detailing. But this is going to be the month-long giveaway in April. So every time you come by and enter the daily giveaway, you're going to get an entry for the monthly giveaway. That monthly giveaway will be done probably on May 2nd, on Tuesday, May 2nd, because I stream on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And so I'll be doing that giveaway, that big giveaway, on all three platforms on May the 2nd. But if you want to come hang out and enter the daily giveaway, it's going to usually be something, something small and fun, like a little engraved sign like this. Coffee pairs nicely with silence, or I'm a big fan of dad jokes, or we can do interesting little laser engraved cutouts, like a little welcome sign that's all three-dimensional. So it's 3 pieces of wood that gets cut out and so on. So we'll be doing fun stuff like this as our daily giveaways for Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. But if you want to enter the drawing for the big dragon, that'll be the monthly giveaway, and that'll happen on May the 2nd. So feel free to come by, enter those giveaways at any time. Like I said, I'm Ian Douglas. So I've got a whole bunch of free career coaching material on this website, techinterview.guide, that you can go check out. It's all free. There's no ads anywhere on the platform. I've got some free newsletters over there that you can check out. Again, no ads, no promotions in the emails. And those emails are really written from a hiring manager's perspective of how do you get a job in the tech industry. So a lot of the emails are not, here's how to answer it perfectly. The emails are written like, here's why we're asking you that question, so that you can come up with your own perfect answer. Understanding a lot of why we ask a question is a big part of understanding how you should even answer the question in the first place. So feel free to drop on by. You can ask questions at any time on the stream. I do have the chat up for YouTube and Kick. So if you do want to ask questions, you can absolutely ask questions on those platforms. I'm going to be working on a way to kind of combine all of the chat into one channel. I'll probably have everything filter through Discord, to be honest. I'll probably capture all the chat from all the platforms and eventually push everything through Discord. And then from Discord, we'll have it like show up here on the screen. Just that way it's a combined chat, and we'll put a logo or something next to each of the platforms so we can see whether it's coming from Twitch or YouTube. And then once Kick releases an actual chat API, then we'll pull that in as well. My chatbot is active over here. You can always send a whisper over to the chatbot if you want to ask a question about career prep, interview prep, but you don't want your username attached to it. You can always come over and you can just send a whisper on Twitch over to my chatbot over here. It's the ID736bot. And if you ask, or if you send a whisper, it's going to show up in chat as an anonymous question, and it'll also copy that over to our Discord community. And our Discord community, I'll make sure that all these links get dropped in the other chat as well. But this Discord community has a channel in there called Anonymous Questions. And anything that you send to the chatbot will show up in that channel as a threaded conversation. So any question that you ask and any follow-up that you give will show up in that thread. And I do that just so people can feel safe about asking a question where they don't want their name attached, or they're a little bit shy, or they're new to a platform, or they don't know me, and they're not sure like what kind of question they even want to ask or how to frame a question. And I can always ask like follow up, like, can you give me a little more context about this or that? You can just send another whisper over to the bot, and it'll show up as a kind of an anonymous follow up. And all of that conversation is also getting copied over to Discord as well. So I want to make it as easy as possible for people to ask me questions. I'm also on all the social networks as Ian Douglas 736, primarily LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm also on Mastodon. If you go to my Twitter bio or go to Linktree with Ian Douglas 736, you'll see a link to my Mastodon account as well. You're always welcome to message me on any of those platforms. My DMs are always open if you've got questions and things like that. Often what I'll do is I'll take the questions that you ask, I'll generalize it, anonymize it, absolutely, and then I'll put that in the anonymous questions channel on our Discord community. And occasionally I'll draw from those questions to actually ask on the stream. And then I do like little video clips. And so if you're familiar with my YouTube channel already, I'll drop that link in here as well. On my YouTube channel, I've got a lot of different playlists that you can go check out. And on the playlist, you can actually see a lot of these shorter videos where I'm just asking a question that like relaying a question that someone had asked me and how I would answer that question. Space Hobo, good to see you in chat. Hello, thanks for dropping by. And so you're welcome to ask questions at any time. So on Sundays, I typically do interview preparation, career preparation. I do free resume reviews, portfolio reviews, LinkedIn reviews, all that kind of stuff. If you've got a question about getting a job in the tech industry, if you've got a question about getting a job in any kind of industry that's not necessarily technology, I'm also happy to offer my advice. Having been a hiring manager, been at director levels at a couple of jobs, I've been in the tech industry for a really long time, and so I've been interviewing people for 15 or 16 years now. So I've been around a while, and I've seen a lot of changes in the tech industry over the years. With the economic thing going on right now, this is the third time I've seen this in my career. The first one was in 2001, saw it again in 2008, 2009. We're seeing it again, all for different reasons, but I've got perspectives on all those kinds of things and how they relate to other kinds of companies and other kinds of jobs. And so how you put a resume together, I'm happy to provide that kind of input. So even if you're not looking for a job specifically in the tech industry, I'm happy to kind of provide my insight into, what kind of job is it, and how can we sort of form your resume for that. So free resume reviews, you can drop those at any time. Here's another link that I'll drop in here, and again, I'll copy these over to the other platforms. But you can basically send me a resume at any time, and just mark on there if you want a private review or a public review. And if it's a public review, I'll do them on the stream on Sundays. If it's a private review, we'll coordinate a time to do that privately. I do ask for payment for a private review, unless you're like unemployed or you're a student trying to get that first job, something along those lines. But if you are currently working or if you've been in the tech industry, I do ask for you to pay for my time. But that money all goes back into a fundraiser that we do on Twitch, where we're constantly raising money for diversity in tech. It's not something that I'm shy about talking about. It's something that I really believe in, as is diversity in tech. And so we're constantly raising money. Right now, we're raising money for a group called Unloop, and that's what our whole month-long giveaway is going to be for the month of April. We're raising money for Unloop, and Unloop is an organization that helps people who have been in prison get jobs in tech once they get out of prison. I'm a big fan of just diversity of perspectives and backgrounds, but also in second chances. I believe that, if someone's gone through prison and they've been rehabilitated, they should be able to get a job, and we shouldn't discriminate against them for any kind of reason about their background. And so Unloop helps people go and get those jobs in the tech industry, and I'm happy to help support them. We've raised about a quarter of our goal. If you come to Twitch and you see the goal set to $2,000, the community goal is really $1,000. For anybody that's followed me on Twitch for the past 2 years, you know that the money that we raise, I match as well. So my hope is that we'll raise that $1,000. I'll match that $1,000. And so you can donate directly to Unloop, and then I'll match that money as well. And then my employer may also match some of that money as well for us. So that'll be a nice kind of addition on top of that. Once we meet that goal, or the end of April, whichever comes first, then we're going to roll over to another group called STEM to the Future. And that one is specifically set up for Black and Latina kids to have access to STEM education and STEM resources to pursue tech careers later on after high school. And so, again, something that I believe very strongly in. So you're welcome to support those if you like, if you so choose. I would love some participation on that. But don't feel obligated. So my big ask is, if you're on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot of free content on there. I've also been doing more around like the laser engraving and stuff like that. And so I've got some YouTube shorts and shorter videos about laser engraving and sort of that maker kind of mentality. I'll be having more of those out over the summer. And then primarily though, my content is about career advancement and interview preparation and things like that, things along that nature. So, so feel free to subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Kick, give me a follow. If you're on Twitch, give me a follow. I don't typically ask people to subscribe to my channels on Kick or Twitch, but any money that I do make as a streamer goes back into those fundraisers. So if you come over to Twitch, I've got all kinds of commands that you can run over there. But one of the things that we can run over here is called _money. And this will give us a link. And again, I'm going to copy this link into the other chat channels here. But basically, this webpage that I put together on techinterview.guide is a transparency of this is how much money that I make as a streamer. It's not much. But when people do cheer bits and donate and things like that, it all goes back into the fundraisers. And so I've got kind of a breakdown of like how much money we raised last year, who we gave it to, and when we gave it to them. People can log into the stream and they actually see me go through the donation effort and so on. So like in December, for example, when we gave a bunch of money away, people were actually on the stream while I logged in to their site, went through the whole donation screen. I hid the initial PayPal thing, but then came through for the last couple of screens and actually clicked through of like, look, this is me actually donating that money over to them. And so people are able to see that, I stand behind my promise that I will match those incoming donations and that I was actually sending that money over. And so I want to be really transparent about that. Again, something that I believe in, something that, I'm going to be raising money for on a regular basis. Not always huge promotion behind it, but it is something that I believe in. So the whole month of April, I'm hoping to kind of encourage involvement in raising money for Unloop. Again, the end of April or $1,000, whatever we hit first, and then we'll go over to STEM to the Future. So in that effort, every day that I stream in April, I'll be doing some kind of giveaway. So for the first giveaway that we're going to do today, you can come by the stream on Twitch. Again, this command only works on Twitch, but you can do !giveaway anytime that I stream in the month of April. So if you follow me on Twitch, you'll get the little notification of when I'm going live. If you follow me on YouTube, I'll be streaming on YouTube the whole month as well. And I'll do my best to keep Kick connected as well. But it's hard with Kick because they don't have a chat API. With YouTube, I can get some of the chat interaction with StreamerBot, but most of the interaction I'm going to have is going to be over on Twitch. So come over to Twitch, do !giveaway, and then we'll be drawing a name at some point today. I've got a handful of like little inspirational signs that I made last night. And I've also got like just funny, goofy, sarcastic ones as well. Again, we can do like cool little laser cutouts to do this kind of thing. I've got like coaster sets that I'm going to be etching and putting together. I also do a lot of 3D printing, so we'll be having some 3D print stuff that we'll give away, including maybe some articulated dragons. And again, the big month-long giveaway is going to be this big airbrush dragon that we've got. Still got a little bit of work to do. I need to paint up the face and get some detail in here and paint the teeth and things like that. And I want to do like a darker shade of blue on here. It doesn't show up as well in the light because of how much lighting is in front of me. But the sides here are much lighter blue. The top is a little bit darker blue, and the bottom here is a very reflective kind of blue. It doesn't play well with the lights, but it looks pretty cool in person. I promise. We gave away another big one on the stream on Thursday. That was a darker kind of cobalt blue kind of themed dragon. And I've actually started resin printing a smaller version of the dragon, and this one's going to be painted up for a family member. So I've got the pieces done now. I've got the wings and the tail finished for this, and then I'm going to be going through and airbrushing this. So Sunday I do my interview prep. Tuesday I do coding. So this coming Tuesday, I'm going to be working on a way to sort of build a catalog of all the things that we're going to be giving away in the month of April. So when you get drawn as a recipient in the giveaway, you'll be able to go to this catalog and pick the thing that you want. So it won't necessarily be like, oh, this is the thing that I've made. This is what's going to be the giveaway. I'm just going to be using these as examples of like, these are the kinds of things that I can do. But ultimately, I want you to go to a catalog and pick what you want me to send you for the giveaway for the month of April. And then at the end of the month, we got the dragon. Might have some other fun things to give away at the end of the month as well for people that get in on the monthly giveaway. So come by anytime I stream. You're welcome to enter those giveaways. So didn't have any resumes come in this week, but I did want to go through some of the anonymous questions that we've got in our Discord community. So I'm going to go pull that up. And I'll be grabbing a couple of questions out of there. And as always, you're welcome to ask questions in chat at any time. While I'm answering a question, though, I tend not to pay too much attention to chat just because I want to get through the recording and things like that. And so I'll be paying attention to that. And then once I finish that, you'll see something show up in chat saying like, "Hey, Ian may not pay attention to chat for the next couple of minutes." And then once I'm done, I hit another button and it'll come up and say, giving you a minute to catch up on chat. So if I do miss something, feel free to repost it. If it's something important that you want me to kind of address, I'm happy to address that once I finish answering a question. Otherwise, I'm going to dive in on some of these anonymous questions here, and I'll be pasting the text of it in chat as well. And then, like I said, I'll be putting these things up on the YouTube playlists afterward. All right. Let's see. Let's grab this one. I think this will be a good one to kind of start. Every tech interview process is a little bit different, but let's start with this one. So we had a question come in on our anonymous questions channel asking how many rounds of interviews are there in a typical hiring process? In the tech interview process, ours is one of the few industries where it's very demonstration based. You have to demonstrate your skill. And so there can be a lot of rounds of interviews just to show that you've got the kind of skill that they're looking for at that particular company. So every company is going to be slightly different, but the general process is going to be roughly this. You're going to have some kind of call with someone in human resources or people operations, depending on what they call themselves. And that's just going to be like, who are you? Why did you apply for the job? They may do a couple of behavioral questions, but it's mostly just to get to know you a little bit and to tell you what their interview process is going to be like. They may ask you on that call, about salary expectations, just to figure out, like, should we move forward in the process? From there, they're probably going to hand you off to a hiring manager who's going to make another assessment on whether or not they should call you. So HR will do an initial screen to try to figure out whether they think they should call you, but then you get handed off to a hiring manager who is going to make a final determination of should we call this person or not. That hiring manager then could have several rounds where the first one's going to be kind of an introduction, talk about the role a little bit, and then from there it'll probably plan out like all the different steps or stages. Now, depending on the type of role that you're going for, is it a developer role? Is it a DevOps role? Is it a DBA database kind of role? Is it a data science kind of role? Machine learning? There's lots of different types of technical roles that you can get. There may be different types of interviews and stages of interviews. The seniority level of what you do and sort of the position that you're applying for can also determine how many interview stages there are. The more senior you are, the more stages you may have, because they really want to test out and prove out your level of skill and your level of knowledge. What have you actually done versus what have you studied and that you know to do? The more junior you are in your career, sometimes the fewer steps you actually have to go through because you don't have that much experience. So there's going to be some demonstration where they're probably going to have you write some code, whether that's offline and you submit it to them like what we call a take-home assessment, or whether you do it live in front of them is one thing. And then they're probably going to have some sort of novel problem-solving thing where they give you a problem and they want to see you code live in front of them. Again, our industry is very demonstration heavy when it comes to our interview process. So you're going to have to demonstrate your level of skill as part of this process. Sometimes if you've already got a project pre-built, you can submit that to them and say like, hey, instead of me doing this take home, can you assess like some of these other projects? Do they have, do these sort of cover the skill that you're looking for? Is there something specific in this take home assessment that you want me to do that's novel to your company? You want to make it sound like you're happy to do it if that's their reasoning. But if there's something that they can evaluate that you've already done, it might save you some steps. This has actually happened to me in the past in a job hunt. So companies can be a little bit flexible with skipping some steps depending on the recency, like how recently you've done some of that work. So the hiring manager is going to probably have an initial call with you just to find out who are you, what's your technical background, and then figure out from there, okay, how many more stages are there going to be? And you can always ask both the HR person that you talk to at the beginning, they're going to be kind of your point of contact going forward. And you can also ask the hiring manager, like, can you explain what these steps are? Like how many different stages are there going to be? How much time can I expect the interview process to be as far as like the number of interviews and maybe the number of hours? And also ask them like, how long does the interview process take? Can I do this all over a couple of days? Does it take like 2 or 3 weeks? What's the average amount of time that it takes a candidate to get through your process? You can ask all these questions. You don't look bad by asking those kinds of questions. It actually helps them understand that you're actually really interested in their process and that you're genuinely curious about it. And then from there, like I said, you may have like some kind of take-home assessment. You may have a follow-up call to kind of go over the quality of your code and what you wrote. There's probably going to be that problem solving, like write us some code live. Now, if you're going for a more intermediate and senior level role, you may also get pulled into what we call a system design interview as well. And that system design interview is meant to think about like at a higher level, not just writing a little piece of code, but like at a higher level, how do you put a whole bunch of these systems together to communicate, whether they're service based or how you get your thing to talk to a database and how it caches things and how it kind of flows through a whole system. They want you to kind of imagine and design that whole system. The more senior you are, the more detail they want you to go into. The more intermediate level and like the lower level that you are, the less detail they're going to expect, but there's still going to be some amount of problem solving in there where they want to hear like, what's your experience? Really with system design, it's more about what's your experience and what's your knowledge than actual hands-on, like I have actually built a system like this. The more senior you are, the longer you've been in the industry, the more they're going to have an expectation that you've actually built some of these kinds of systems before, and they want to hear about that experience. If you don't have experience building something, it's important in those system design interviews to say, I know that this is what I should do. I've never actually built that kind of system before, but this is what I would do. I think it gives a lot more transparency to the interviewer, and it gives them better signals, as we call them. We call them signals, about what you know versus what you've actually done. So always be honest about it. Never try to overrepresent what you've actually done. I've been in a lot of interviews where people have overrepresented what they've done, and you start asking them questions and it starts to unravel on them, and it quickly becomes apparent that they don't know what they're talking about or that they haven't actually built that thing. And then it looks bad for you as a candidate. So you always want to be upfront about, I've actually built a system like this, or I did something that was a little bit similar. This is what we did and why. So the more senior you are, the more likely you're going to get pulled into a system design interview. Once you start getting up into like architect level roles, then it's even more high level where you're dealing with much, much larger systems that might be like global in scale. And how do you build out, clusters in the cloud, globally around the world to handle geographic based queries and things of that nature. So there's going to be a lot more involved in that. So that's another round. And then from there, you're going to progress into, probably like a culture type of interview where it's just the team hanging out with you. If you're in person, that may take the form of like, hey, let's go out for lunch, or we want you to come by the office and we're just going to hang out on a Friday afternoon or something like that. They just want to get to know you as a person. Am I going to enjoy working with this person? That's a big step for a lot of companies, especially the smaller the company, the more likely they want to meet you in person. With some companies being fully remote, it'll probably just be a remote phone call of some kind. But they may also offer to fly you somewhere and travel to an actual office location where you can physically hang out with them because they want to get to know you. They want to know if you're actually going to fit in as part of their team culture. Are you going to be enough like them? Are you, can you hold your own in conversation? Things like that. They want to know that you're a good, genuine person that they are going to enjoy having on the team. And then from there, you'll probably start having phone calls with HR about getting ready to make an offer, going through negotiations, and so on. So, all said and done, it sounds like a lot of steps. The actual number of interviews that you go through for a tech interview role, like I said, HR, hiring manager, usually one or two pieces of demonstration, maybe a third one around demonstration. And again, those demonstration ones won't necessarily be with the hiring manager. It could be just other people on the team or other people in the company. If the company's big enough, they may have like dedicated interviewing people. And then from there, follow up with HR. So I would say there's probably a minimum of like 5 interviews. I've talked on the stream in the past about like how many is too many, and should companies reimburse us for our time if it starts to feel very heavy? If you start to feel like, you know what, you got like 10 different rounds you want me to go through, and this is going to take like, several hours, of preparation and whatever for each of these rounds. Like if they want you to prepare a bunch of stuff or build a bunch of code or do a presentation of some kind, depending on your role, or you've got to build up some sort of scenario to be able to talk about that at an interview, should they reimburse us for our time? A lot of companies won't reimburse you, but there are companies out there who will reimburse you for your time. You can ask about that as part of the process with the HR person and the hiring manager. If they say, this is how many rounds it's going to take, this is the kind of preparation, you can say, okay, do you offer any kind of compensation to candidates who put in this amount of time? The worst they'll say is no, but they're not going to say, oh, we shouldn't interview this person because they want money for interviewing with us. If you're genuinely qualified for the role and they want to hire you for the role, they're going to consider you for the role. And worst case, they'll just say, no, we don't offer any sort of compensation. But there are companies out there who will compensate you for your time. You just have to ask. So be sure to ask about that kind of thing. You can also kind of negotiate some of the salary stuff even up front and say like, hey, with that HR person, when they call and they say, what's your salary expectation? I always counter that question with a question. Say, what are you offering? What's the range that you're offering for that role based on my level of experience? What would the range be? For example, I was looking at a recent job post, and they're like, the salary range for this job is $80,000 to $220,000. It's like that span is $140,000 range. And so I reached out to them saying like, why is this such a large range? Not that I'm looking for a job, but I like looking at job posts. And so I reached out to the company and I'm like, why is there such a large range in this job? Like that feels really odd. You're looking for a specific amount of experience, a specific kind of experience, and yet you've got this really large range of salary. And this is an unfortunate side effect of a lot of states in the United States passing laws that a company has to provide a salary range as part of the job post. And because they want to cater to all the different geographic locations and say, well, if you live in this location, we're going to pay you less. If you live in this location, we have to pay you a little bit more because it's more expensive to live there. All that's kind of hogwash. They should just pay everybody the same amount of money, no matter where you live geographically. Because if you're working remotely, it doesn't matter where you live, but you're still doing the same quality of work, so they should be paying you the same amount of money. And so you can actually have that conversation right up front. When they say, what's your salary expectation? You ask them back, what are you offering for that role? What's the range? Like based on what you've seen about my history and about my background, what range can I expect the company to make as an offer? And then you can kind of negotiate from there. Typically, whatever range they give you, you want to overlap it a little bit, but you want to go higher than what they offer. So if they say, we're offering, say 140 to 160, you can say, okay, that's fine. I was looking for something in the range of 155 to 175. So there's a tiny bit of overlap at the top end of their range, but you're letting them know you want like even more than that. That'll give them some idea of what to expect. Now they could come back right away and say, we can't offer that much. At which point you can start that negotiation process even earlier and say, can you make up for it in compensation? Are there other perks in the company that can help offset this? Can I do a signing bonus to kind of offset that? But keep in mind, signing bonus is a one-time payment. The salary is the ongoing thing, and it's the salary that's going to get you a raise. Next year, you're not going to get another signing bonus. You might get more equity, but you're not going to get another signing bonus. And so it adds to your initial year of income. But beyond that, it's not going to increase your income going forward. Like that initial bonus sign on does, or it's like signing bonus doesn't contribute to ongoing salary. And so if you're trying to negotiate for higher salary, and you should always negotiate your salary before negotiating anything else, you always want to make sure to get as much salary as possible. So I know I kind of went on a bit of a tangent there, but those are the kinds of steps. And again, you can negotiate some of that salary right at the beginning. You don't have to wait to the very end to negotiate your salary. You can let them know what your expectation is up front, but get them to explain what that interview process is so that you know what you're getting into. When I did my job hunt a year ago, I was interviewing with or I had started interviewing with a company, and they're like, okay, we've got an initial phone call and a tech assessment. And if that goes well, then we start you in the actual interview process. And that's going to start with an initial call and a tech assessment. And I'm like, but you just did those. Like, why do them again? And they're like, oh, it's just our process. I'm like, that's a waste of time. You're going to make me spend another hour and a half to 2 hours on those 2 phone calls when I've just done those 2 hours worth of phone calls. And the whole process, like once you got into the process, was like another 8 hours. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like, as much as I would love to work for your company and whatever, like, that's too much of a process. You know, I had already had job offers at that point, and I'm like, I'm not gonna jump through that many hoops for a company and you know, maybe get another job offer. It would have been significantly more money, but I just wasn't ready to go through that many rounds of interviews because I was already sitting on job offers. All right, cool. Well, that was that clip. So that's how I take a question. That's how I answer it. So let me go through and mark that in our Discord community as being done. And where was that question? There it is. Cool. So that one's done. So in our Discord community, again, if you want to come hang out on Discord, you're welcome to do that. In there, I've got a channel called Anonymous Questions. Anytime you send me a message, I may generalize it and put it in there to actually answer on the stream. I believe in having those questions kind of brought up more sort of globally, because if you've got that question, chances are pretty good other people are going to have that question as well. And then I go through, once I answer it on stream, I mark it that it's been answered. So that way we can all kind of see like when something's been answered. Let me go catch up on chat. I know I've been chatting for a little bit here, so let me go catch up on chat and say hi to folks that have dropped by. So Space Hobo, good to see you again in chat. Who else is hanging out with us today? We got Triclaw, good to see you. Triclaw was commenting while I was answering that question, especially in tech. Don't oversell yourself on skills. On the other hand, I'm terrible at selling myself to begin with. It's an important part of like humble brag. It's okay to be proud of what you've done, but it's a very different thing to brag about what you've done. Like, oh, look at the cool things I made. But it's a very different vibe to say, you know, this is stuff that I've built and I'm actually really proud of. So you can be humble about it and still talk about your accomplishments and be proud of what you've done without sounding arrogant about like how amazing you were and how, you know, amazing the system was and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, get in on the giveaway, exclamation point giveaway if you're hanging out on Twitch. If you're watching on Kick or if you're watching on YouTube, you will have to come over to Twitch to participate in the giveaway. But we're going to have a giveaway. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of things we're going to give away. And then this coming Tuesday, I'm going to be working on something where I'm going to go through and like scrape a bunch of images of like collections of things that I can laser etch and things that I can 3D print. And I'm going to put a little catalog together. So everybody that's a recipient of the giveaway, you'll be able to go to the catalog and tell me what you want. So it won't necessarily be like, oh, here's this cool inspirational saying that I made last night. Falling down is an accident, staying down is a choice. You don't have to get this, but this is an example of like the kinds of things that I can engrave, or like a little welcome sign like this that we've actually given away in the past. So I've got lots of examples of those kinds of things. I've got like little coaster sets. I've got some cool keychains. I've got little bookmarks that I can make, all that kind of stuff. And so I want to make a little catalog of those things and publish that catalog. So anybody that gets picked for the giveaway as a recipient, you can go to the catalog and you can send me a message and say, this is the thing I want. So exclamation point giveaway, that'll get you in the daily giveaway. You'll see a little thing show up in chat saying you're in the daily giveaway and you've got this many entries for the month. So every time you come by, every time I'm streaming and you come by the stream and you enter the giveaway, you're going to get an entry for the daily giveaway. You're also going to get another entry to the monthly giveaway. Now, once I sort of pick a recipient for the daily giveaway, you can still enter, but that entry is only going to count towards the monthly one because we'll have already chosen our daily giveaway recipient. So that's how that works. Last Thursday, when I streamed, I did a code walkthrough of like, this is how the code works and how I kind of put all these entries together and how it randomly chooses things. And we talked about like purely random numbers and pseudo random numbers and that kind of thing, just to give some transparency on how my giveaway code works. And I'm actually going to be rewriting all of the giveaway code for July. I'm going to try and build something for StreamerBot to do like giveaways, where the giveaway entries that you get are going to be based on how much time you spend on the stream. So the longer you watch the stream, the more entries you're going to get. So it'll be a little bit like if anybody knows Amish Ace here on Twitch, and how Amish Ace, like when you just hang out in his channel, you kind of accrue these points and you spend those points on tickets, and then those tickets go into the raffle and he draws from those. But you have to manually go in and like specify the tickets. I want to try to make mine a little more automatic. So once you start accruing points, once it's a multiple of 5 or 10 or however many I configure, it'll automatically turn those into tickets for you. So that way you'll be able to see like how many points do I have, how many tickets do I have, and then those are going to get counted towards those kinds of things. So I want to totally rewrite all of that to work in StreamerBot and not be on my Python chatbot. So I'll be working on that over time as well. But this Tuesday, I'm going to be working primarily on that catalog. And then I want to talk to a couple of other streamers that do giveaways as well and talk about what I want to do in StreamerBot and kind of collaborate on what those features are going to be. And then I'm going to start putting that together in StreamerBot and hopefully make that like an extension that other people can download and tinker with and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. Westery, good to see you. RC Maniac, good to see you as well. Thindal, the trick to flying is falling and missing the ground. That's right. I was actually just talking to my kids about that the other day. They're like, my youngest was like, he was asking something about, do you know how to fly? I'm like, yeah, you throw yourself at the ground and miss. And they're like, what? So I had to introduce them to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Cool. Let's see. Did I miss anybody else in chat? I think that was it. Thindal also added some other stuff. Says, evening, Ian. Hope you're well. I might be really spoiled, but I'm running my own company now, and there was a company trying to recruit me and offered a 30,000 signing bonus. I told them that for me to give the freedom and possibility of working for myself, that they were a zero off. Oh, gotcha. So that you wanted like a $300,000 signing bonus. I mean, being your own boss is nice. I did my own consultant work for almost 3 years in California, and it was great, except the taxes were absolutely crushing in California. I lost about 51% of the income that I made just to small business taxes. It was really rough, and that was with an accountant trying to write off everything I possibly could. I still lost 51% of my income, and most of that went to the state of California. The federal taxes weren't bad, but the state of California hates small business, and they made it really, really hard to succeed as a small business. So I eventually stopped and went back to being an employee. But yeah, I mean, going from a full-time job into like being an employee again is tough. I was actually chatting with someone last night about this, where they were saying like, I did some consultancy work and then I went back to school and now I want to go find like a job as an employee. Or sorry, they went from an employee to being like a self-employed contractor, and then they went back to school and now they want to get back and be an employee. And how do you talk about that? How do you spin that? And my recommendation to them was, the explanation that you have when you interview with that company has to sound compelling about the value that you bring. Like, I've got all this background, all this experience, I've got recent training, and so I'm bringing all of that to your company. But the reason that you want to get back and be an employee is because you took that time to work as an independent, and now you've gone through school, that you really want to get back into a place where you're working with other people and you're working as part of a team and building up that team dynamic, and say, I bring a lot as an individual, but I also want to contribute to a team. So you don't want to make it sound like you need a team or that you've somehow lost your team skills. You want to make it sound like you still have those skills, but you want to really promote like, this is what I bring to a team, and I'm looking forward to working with a team of people on things. Like, I could go back and do like my solo contract work again, but I'd really rather be part of a team. and I want to like work for a company that I'm, really excited about, and talk about why you're excited about their company and what their industry brings and all that kind of stuff. So that would be the way to sort of pitch that. So if you've been an employee and you went solo contractor and then you want to get back into being an employee, and that's effectively what I did back in California back in the day, is I basically said, between the small business taxes, but then I also just missed being around other people. I said, as part of my contract work, I would kind of go in and I would work with other teams, but it was always a short-term kind of contract. And so I didn't get to build up these long-term relationships with people and build up these friendships and work on that professional aspect of my career. And I wanted longevity with a company. I wanted to be at a company for a long period of time, where the contract work was typically like 3-4 months at a time, sometimes less, and that I wanted something long term. And that was all the explanation that most companies want to hear, is that you're in it for the long term, you're happy to be part of the team, you want to contribute to the team, this is the value that you bring. That's really all they want to hear. Thindal says, if I make 15,000 a month, why would I take a job making 6,000 a month just for a $30,000 signing bonus? Yeah, that's true. GBAV, good to see you. Ian for president. I don't qualify as president. I wasn't born in the country, but thanks. But I am streaming over on Kick, and I'm streaming over on YouTube today. So if you're hanging out on those platforms, thanks for dropping by. We did have a question come in on YouTube I'm going to address, so hopefully that person is still hanging out. But if you do want to enter the giveaway, you do need to come over to Twitch and do it, because I don't have the chat bot set up for watching YouTube. So if you want to participate in the giveaway, you can come over to Twitch and you type !giveaway in chat, and that'll get you in the daily giveaway. That's also going to give you an entry for the monthly giveaway. But let's go address this question that we got over on YouTube. Someone came by and says, my first time attending your stream. Thanks for sharing the info. I'd like to request if you could please share some good resources for testing and QA concepts and test automation. Well, I work at Postman, so we're all about test automation and helping with that API side of things. I would say for good resources around QA testing, like the first thing is you have to have a very solid test structure. You have to have very good like full unit tests, maybe integration tests, and then run that through some kind of CI/CD pipeline, whether it's like a Circle CI, Travis, Jenkins, Azure Pipelines, GitHub Actions, like whatever. There's lots of those platforms out there that will do just that continuous testing. Anytime you push a change, it's going to run through that testing. It doesn't necessarily have to deploy things. But what you want is you want a kind of a third-party independent system other than like your development system where you're running the tests, because sometimes those can get, it can have like leftover data. We call it polluting your environment. Is you want that environment to be absolutely pristine. Like if I spin up a whole brand new environment, can I run all these tests? Do they work properly? If I set up the database, if I set up the code and I, construct my, my initial, testing and so on, can I run those tests and does everything work the way I expect it to? And so having a CI/CD pipeline, it stands for continuous integration, continuous deployment. You really want the continuous integration, which is the continuous integration testing of pull this stuff down, integrate all these systems together, run all the tests, make sure it works. And that's just going to give you that extra confidence that everything is going to work out okay there. So that's really what we want to get to as far as that stage, is you want to get to the point where you've just got these things that you can just run all the time. So anytime you push code into a branch, you can have it run all those tests. Anytime you merge things into like your main sort of branch or trunk or whatever you call it, that it's also going to run all of those tests again by building out a whole environment, testing everything end to end. And so you have to have very good tests, and then you need some sort of automation system in that. Luckily, it doesn't take very long to set those kinds of things up. There's a lot of tutorials out there. Depending on which platform you want to use, there's going to be a lot of tutorials out there. So, you're asking for specific resources. So I would say if you want to use GitHub Actions, GitHub is going to have tons of documentation. If you want to use Circle CI, they're going to have tons of documentation. If you want to use tools like Postman, we've got tons of documentation and tutorials and videos and things like that you can go through about like how to set these things up and then how to run them. So it depends a lot on which platform you want to use. Some of them are going to cost you money. Some of them you can get started for free. Especially if you're kind of working on small scale projects, you can generally get started for free. But it's also going to depend on your company policies. If you do work for a company, it's going to depend on their policies of whether you can actually attach that repository to a third party like CircleCI or Travis CI. If they won't allow that, then you're going to need to figure out, can we build our own sort of automated system where when we push something in, it's going to like trigger some kind of action. You can set those kinds of things up in shell scripts to watch your own Git repo, that when something gets checked in, that it goes and it runs some sort of process. And that process could be go run a Docker setup, go build all your containers, go run your tests in those containers, and then report back of whether it worked or not. But that's something that you might have to build manually. That's why companies like CircleCI exist. They want to do that work for you so that you don't have to do it. Follow up on YouTube says, as a student and beginner, I'm looking for some open source or free trial versions as of now. So I would definitely stick with something like a CircleCI or GitHub Actions. That's going to be totally free for you to use. In fact, I would probably focus on like a Travis CI, CircleCI, because GitHub, depending on what you're doing on GitHub, you might roll into like more enterprise types of features. I'm fortunate enough that at Postman we're on like enterprise plans, and so we can spin that kind of stuff up and I don't have to worry about the expense of it. Someone else at the company pays the bill. But when you're just a student, you're trying to do it yourself, I absolutely agree you need to find the cheapest way of doing it. And so I would look at something like a CircleCI or Travis CI, which is going to get you set up for free on those platforms and won't cost you anything at all. Thindle says over on Twitch, I restrict myself from committing and pushing to my main branch on my personal projects as well because I really want extra control. Most platforms have templates that are more or less plug and play if you don't want to do anything special. Yeah. And a lot of them are like some tools will actually say like, what's the branch and what's this and what's that. And it'll actually generate like whatever the configuration file is or setup file that you need to go put on that other platform. Be careful about API keys and things like that. You want to set those up on CircleCI as environment settings. You don't want to like hard code those things in any scripts. You don't want to expose that stuff in your GitHub repositories. So if you are like calling out to other, APIs, or you need sort of like any kind of authentication layer between what you're testing and what you're setting up, you don't want any of that to exist in your code. You want to pull that in as environment settings. That's kind of our industry best practice. Pull that in as an environment setting, and then you can go into like CircleCI or Travis or any of these platforms, and you can go set those environment variables as part of your configuration on their website so that there's nothing in your config files, there's nothing in your code base. It knows to go get this stuff out of your environment, and then it'll go run all of your tests from there. And like I said, it'll be free to get up and running and get started. So the first thing you have to do is pick like, which platform do I want to use? If you're putting things up on GitHub, you can stay with GitHub Actions, but again, there might be some things in there that they want like billing information because, beyond a certain point, they might charge you money. I would say probably getting started on CircleCI is probably going to be like a good free option to get started from there. Cool. Thanks for asking. Appreciate you dropping by YouTube. Thanks for hanging out over there. We've got GBav hanging out on Kick as well, so thanks for dropping by there. Give me a follow on Kick as well. Oh, I think you did. I got one follower on Kick now. Yay! I'm balling now over on Kick. I got one follower. Akash says, thank you on YouTube. Absolutely. Happy to do it. So again, at some point over the summer, I want to combine all of the chats from all the different platforms, and I'm probably going to merge everything through just webhooks into Discord, and then have the Discord webhook populate back over here in OBS. So that way, if you're on Twitch or on YouTube, and eventually when Kick comes out with a chat API, I can pull all of this text content into one place, and that if I post a comment, that it'll like broadcast onto all of them or something like that. We'll have to figure that one out. But that's ultimately what I want to build out over the summer, as well as the new giveaway thing using StreamerBot. So Mighty Bean, come on by. Mighty Bean needs to check out Kick. Mighty Bean is also a streamer. You can go give Mighty Bean a follow as well. It gets into a lot of really cool electronics and 3D printing. Has some really cool like voice commands where and the sarcasm and stuff that you build into your chatbot. It's like, chatbot, are you listening? It's like, of course I'm listening. You don't give me a choice. Like, I love the sarcastic responses. Feels very much taken out of Hitchhiker's Guide. as well. We were talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy earlier, and a lot of your chatbot interactions, like the voice activation stuff, reminds me a lot of Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah, go give Mighty Bean a follow as well. If you're into gaming and things like that, go give GBav a follow. GBav does a lot of gaming online. GBav is also streaming both on Twitch and on Kick as well to build up audience. Does a lot of Instagram videos and things like that. Westry says, I've heard of Kick. I haven't checked it out. It's just another, it's a streaming platform very, very similar to Twitch. But you're allowed a lot more emotes. The emotes can be animated right away, but they also do a 95-5 subscriber split as opposed to a 50-50. So you get way more of your subscriber revenue if you use their platform. I don't think they do things like bits and things like that, and you have to set up your own donation stuff with PayPal. But I imagine they're going to expand a lot of that over time, depending on the popularity. But they're also a lot more relaxed on the rules and what's allowed over there. So there are a lot of like 18 plus, mature content kinds of channels over there. So people streaming like full movies and things like that. So it seems like they're a little more relaxed on some of the rules, but it'll really depend on like what it is you're aiming for. If you're just looking for like the social casual thing, I'm going to stay on Twitch for the foreseeable future. I'm only streaming over there just because I want to try to reach as many people as possible. They've got bathtub streams the same that they do over here on Twitch, but I think, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I've checked out like some of the different channels, and they've got a lot of the same sort of game related things. They've got like a maker and crafter content. They've got the just chatting thing, which I'm using on Sundays, things like that. So I'm probably going to stream the career related stuff on Kick on Sundays and on YouTube. When I do my coding, I may just do Twitch, maybe Kick. I'm not sure how big of an audience there is for programming on Kick yet. I have seen a handful of people doing like maker related things like crafting and so on. So I may do Kick on Thursdays. I'm still trying to figure out like which platforms I want to stream and when, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I'm probably going to stay on Twitch anyway. I mean, I don't tend to make a lot of revenue as a streamer anywhere. Any money I do make, I put back into the community anyway. So the revenue split doesn't really bother me that much. I usually tell people like just do straight donations to the charities that we're raising money for. If you really want to donate to me, you can. I'm just going to turn around and put it back into the fundraiser anyway. And so whether it's a 50-50 split or a 95-5 split, doesn't matter as much to me. So Xdriptini, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. As a developer trying to land their first position, what's the best way to say I'm willing to do the work, put in the hours that no one else is, i.e. work weekends, write tests, without selling yourself short? Well, for the first thing, don't tell them that you want to work on weekends. There is such a thing as work-life balance. They want to know that you are also going to be a balanced human being. So don't overpromise what you can do or the commitment that you're willing to make to a company. That often comes across as more of a desperation than an eagerness to work. Because it sounds like you are absolutely desperate for a job and you're going to do whatever it takes, even if that's where you really are. I think you have to be careful about that kind of thing, especially the part like I'm willing to do the work that no one else wants to do, like writing tests. That's part of their job. If that's part of the role, they should be writing tests no matter what. So it shouldn't be up to you to take on things that other people don't want to do. Generally, though, as an entry-level developer getting a job, you're going to be working on things like testing and documentation because it exposes you to a lot more of the system, and you're going to get a lot more experience and knowledge about how all the different systems work by writing the tests and by writing the documentation. But you don't need to volunteer and say, I'll be the test person, I'll be the documentation person, please just hire me. Because again, it comes across as kind of a desperate effort. So I would not use that language. Instead, what you want to do is you really want to focus on the value that you bring. You're bringing fresh eyes, you're bringing fresh energy, you're bringing fresh perspective to that company, and that's what you're bringing as your value. Yes, you're bringing programming skills. They're not going to be as honed and refined as people that have been working there for a long time. You've got a lot to learn, but you've got an eagerness to learn. You've got fresh energy, fresh eyes, fresh perspective. That's what you're bringing to the team. And you just need to really sell them on that, as well as selling them on how quickly you're going to get up to speed on whatever technologies they're using, things along those lines. but don't sell yourself by saying I'm willing to work weekends and like do all this ridiculous stuff that other people don't want to do. Don't even say that because it comes across desperate. Test coverage is a bad way of measuring test quality. I agree to an extent, yes. There are companies out there that only want test coverage on the most business critical parts that absolutely cannot fail, and the rest of it they're a lot more relaxed about. I've also worked at other companies that are like, we must have 90% plus test coverage, or, we're not even going to merge your code. But again, it's because typically the company has a reputation of having good quality code that doesn't break, doesn't go down often. And they want to make sure that, if you're working on that code, that you're going to, help them maintain that reputation. But I agree that just a straight number of like 90% test coverage means quality code. It just means that you're really good at writing tests. Having some percent test coverage on new code for a CI build is a good idea. You can't do a job without writing tests because tests are part of the job. Yeah. Twisted Mood, good to see you as well. I thought I had the opportunity to be a Salesforce dev at my job. Turns out that's 3 or 5 years out. I had the opportunity to be a Salesforce CRM manager instead. In the meantime, should I take the job for experience? I don't want to go find a dev job in the current market. Why not? I mean, yeah, there's layoffs, but there's still more jobs than there are people to fill those jobs. Like there's still way more developer jobs than there are. So one thing that I listened to fairly recently, the school that I used to teach at, the executive director of the school was talking about the economy and like what happened with the economy, and he really broke it down. It was kind of a good video. But one of the things that he talked about is, we're going to start to see things slow down, maybe as early as over the next 6 months, and we're going to start to see the tech industry kind of flatten out and pick up again. But there are still way fewer people graduating from CS programs or any kind of like programming, like programs, code schools. There are way fewer people graduating from those than there are jobs. The other thing that he mentioned, and which I really agree with, is if you want a job in tech, it doesn't have to be at a tech company. Every company out there is going to have some kind of software development team. One of the instructors that we had working at the school, Jeff, the executive director, was talking to this guy about like, where did you come from before you came to the school? And he said, oh, I worked at some steakhouse. He was like, oh, cool. I used to be a busboy and whatever. And the guy's like, no. I was a software developer for the steakhouse. So like even restaurants have point of sale software jobs. Point of sale systems have software jobs. You can go literally to any retail store, they're going to have a software division of some kind. So you don't have to go get a job at a FANG company to feel like you're succeeding in getting a job as a developer. You go get 2 years of experience at any kind of job doing professional programming, and you're going to be able to go get literally any kind of job after that. So your first job doesn't have to be a FANG company. Yes, that does set you up much better and it kind of catapults your career, but that doesn't have to be your first job. Getting that first job is already hard enough. You don't have to put that pressure on yourself that you have to get a FANG job as your first job to feel like you're succeeding in tech. I would, in fact, caution against that because it's much harder to get a job at those FANG companies. So I think you do need to be really careful about that. I'm going to change up the music here a little bit. So what I would suggest for that is like expand your horizons a little bit. Expand your search criteria about what kind of company are you going to be happy at. What kind of background do you have? If you've got a music background, go look at all the music companies that are out there. Like for example, if you've got a music background, you played in a band, you know how to play guitar or whatever, go apply for a job at Guitar Center. Ask Guitar Center what kind of online e-commerce software roles they have. Are they hiring people for software roles in those kinds of jobs? If you come from a construction background, construction management software is a huge industry right now because there's tons of construction happening all the time, and companies need software around automating scheduling of materials and moving equipment around and stuff like that. Like there's going to be software involved at that job. Any kind of manufacturing plant out there, they're going to have robotics, they're going to have software controlling the robotics and whatever. My dad before he passed away, he always used to talk about, oh, the robots are going to come and take all our jobs. And I'm like, my job's safe. Somebody's got to program the robot. So, like, there are a lot more opportunities out there to get a job as a developer than you think there are. There are way more companies hiring for software roles than you think. You're in finance currently. I mean, unless you absolutely hate finance, stay in the finance industry. There's a ton of fintech jobs. So, finance technology, we call it fintech for short. There's a ton of jobs in fintech right now. So unless you absolutely hate finance, which I've actually taught a student in the past, they were a CFO at a company and they came to our school and I'm like, why didn't you stay a CFO? Like you're going to make way more money as a C-level executive as a CFO than you're going to make as a developer in the short term. He's like, I hate finance. I never want to go back into finance. I'm like, okay, I get it. So, he went through the program and whatever, got a job. Not doing finance. If you're willing to put up with it for a little bit, stay in that industry. You know that industry really well. You bring that passion, you bring that knowledge, you bring that background. That's a huge selling point to a company because you're already in that industry. Say, I want to stay in this industry, but now I'm a developer. Go back to a company that you used to work at and find out, do you have software development jobs? Can I apply for one of those jobs? Now I've got all these additional skills on top of, whatever you've been doing in finance, and see if they've got some kind of software role that you can take there. That will greatly increase your chances of getting your foot in the door as a tech, like in a tech role. Work that for a year and a half, 2 years, and then you can literally go to any other company and get any other kind of job. Getting that first job in tech is the hardest job. It's the hardest trying to get that first job. Getting the second job is much easier. Getting jobs later on in your career, much, much easier because they start to look at the experience that you have as opposed to right now you've only got education, and that's a lot riskier for them to hire you. It doesn't mean you can't get a job though. There are going to be a lot of programmer jobs out there. You just have to look for kind of the unconventional jobs. It doesn't have to be a tech company. You can literally go to any company. They're probably going to have a software division. I'm just looking around my desk here. Like, I picked up a mug from Amish Ace's channel. This company, Orca Coatings, they make mugs. Great. They probably have a software division that figures out how do we take that image and place it on the mug and like position things around. Like there are going to be tech jobs around that. There's going to be an e-commerce division about, how do we sell these mugs? There's going to be logistics software about how do we package and ship these things and track the shipments. Like there's tons of software stuff out there. Logistics companies and shipping companies are also a huge market right now. So logistics, construction is another huge one. Like just go find like what would otherwise seem to be an unconventional place to find a programmer job. Chances are really good they've got some kind of programming role or programming team, and they're going to be hiring for people. The last statistic I heard is there are over 1 million unfilled jobs for developers, and there aren't that many developers out there that need those jobs. So yeah, you hear about these tech companies doing layoffs of like thousands and thousands of people. Well, they're not all developers either. They're laying off sales, they're laying off marketing, they're laying off customer support, they're laying off, other staff that are not necessarily the programmers. Yes, programmers are absolutely getting affected, but when you see a company like, so-and-so just laid off 10,000 people, those are not 10,000 developers that lost their job. Of all those 10,000 people, maybe only 1,000 of them were actually developers. So it's important that you understand who got laid off to know that there's still a lot of jobs out there. There's still a lot of jobs, but it's hard getting that first job. I absolutely agree. This is why I do this whole live stream, to help people learn how to talk about the value that you bring to a company, but also to think a little bit differently about what that job hunt means and the kinds of jobs that you can qualify for. So take a hard look at your background and the kinds of jobs that you've had. Go back to some of those companies and say, hey, do you do any kind of software development or website development, any sort of e-commerce thing? Because I've got some training in that and I really want to get back into that. And I've been at the company before. I appreciate the company. Even if you don't, you got a little white lie to them, make them think that you really care in order to get your foot in the door. get any kind of experience for that year, year and a half, 2 years, and then literally you can go get any other job. Whip also said in chat, a lot of recruiters got laid off. Yep. Freelance's first work experience, that is possible. So One Dank Platypus, you can do freelance work as your first work experience. It's even harder though, I find, to get your first job as a freelancer because you have to convince people that you're expert enough that you can get the job done. They don't want to necessarily have to pay you, like especially if you're charging them hourly for a project. Excuse me. They don't want to have to charge you, or they don't want to have to pay you extra hours to go learn something. And so now you're going to be torn as a freelancer trying to figure out how many hours do I bill them for when I had to go spend 8 hours to learn it to go develop it for an hour? Do I bill them for the hour? Do I bill them for all 9 hours? It's like you should bill them for all of your time, but it's going to be a lot harder to convince somebody to take a chance on hiring you as a freelancer when you don't have any professional experience. Yeah, you might have a portfolio and you can show them the kinds of things that you can do, but it'll be a harder sell. You'll have an easier time getting in at other companies and building up some experience and then doing freelance work after that. I worked professionally for about a decade before I did freelance work. That's not to say it's the path for everybody. Like, I'm not saying you have to work for a decade before you can be a freelancer. I know people that got immediately out of school and they went into freelance work and they're doing fine. But it's a much harder sell. I've been in the position where freelancing and trying to, sell the skill that you have, it's also kind of a race to the bottom, as we call it, where you're trying to undercut everybody else. And how much do I charge? How much do you charge? How do I charge less than you so I get the contract? But then, you're going to end up working for like $5 an hour. When you look at people around the world that are going to be competing for jobs on like Fiverr and Upwork and sites like that to try to find those kinds of jobs, it's much harder. There's way more competition for it, and you're going to end up undercutting yourself and not getting paid what you're worth. So I would say, yeah, you can, but be really careful about it. It's going to be hard to find the jobs, but be careful about how much money that you're charging to make sure that it's worth your time. Otherwise, you might as well just go get a minimum wage job going back working at that restaurant. Instead, go contact that restaurant or whoever the parent company of that restaurant is and say, hey, are you looking for developers to go build those menus, to go build the little interactive things that sit on the table, that do your billing systems or payroll systems? Like, do you have any kind of software team that I can come back to the company and work on that kind of software? Go ask. You never know what's going to happen there. Let's see. Sindel says, at all the remote openings these days, you've got access to a massive portion of that market as long as you have citizenship. Citizenship is a big thing for sure. Some companies are kind of closing down on the remote jobs though as well. So if you really, really, really want to work remote, it's also going to be harder to find those jobs. But if you're in a commercial enough area to go find something in your area that you can reasonably travel to, there's going to be a lot of opportunity as well. RC says, Google did layoffs the next day. Teams tried to rehire devs because they went from staffed to understaffed, and there were no signs from higher ups that they couldn't rehire them and that their deadlines were changing because of the layoff. Nice. Gotta love bureaucracy. I think Facebook's second round was mostly people doing active seek out recruitment. Yeah. So some of the companies were legitimately looking at who are our underperformers. Let's let them go. So like Facebook, they just changed from an annual review to a twice a year review. And anybody who has 2 reviews that say you're underperforming, you automatically get let go. And so those are the kinds of people from those companies that are going to get laid off. Some would argue that even the worst employee at Google is probably a better programmer than other companies. I would disagree. Just working at a FAANG company doesn't necessarily make you a better developer. It just means that you knew how to study to pass their interview process a little bit better. I've worked with people from FAANG companies, and they are not significantly better programmers. I can tell you that from experience. Citizenship is also helpful if you can get security clearance. Any kind of security clearance is also going to be really helpful. That also opens up a lot of doors. If you want to work in like defense contracts and things like that, some people are kind of against that, but it really depends on the kind of work that you want to do. Let me go back over to YouTube. We got some more other comments coming in on YouTube. So hi to everybody on YouTube. Thanks for hanging out. We had another question. I'm learning programming concepts by self-learning. There are a lot of sites and videos for Python. I was wondering if you would recommend any resource any resources that are time efficient and beginner friendly for Python, in my opinion. Oh, and someone followed up, said, in my opinion, immigration and work visas, jobs are difficult. Yeah. If the economy is not good. Yeah. So let's go back to the question about like what's an efficient way to go learn Python and so on. There's a lot of free resources out there. Free Code Camp is probably the one that I would go to first and foremost. If you want to specifically learn JavaScript, there are programs like 100 Devs that do a really good job walking you through everything about JavaScript. If you want something that's language specific, it's going to kind of restrict what you can look for. But Free Code Camp is going to have a lot of really good structured content to follow. And that's the thing. Like, you can go out and you can self-learn these things, but unless you've got a structure to follow of like, go learn this, then go learn this, then go learn this, you're going to feel a little bit more scattered. And is your knowledge really complete? And that's also going to be the impression that employers are going to have about you as well. But if you say, I went and followed this structured curriculum, then they can go look at that curriculum and go, oh, okay, yeah, that looks pretty complete and pretty robust as far as like what you learned in an amount of time. And they're more likely to trust that curriculum. But if you just said like, oh yeah, I'm self-taught on Python and I know a lot of stuff about Python, they're probably going to want you to demonstrate that skill a lot more in depth than someone who actually went through some kind of curriculum program. So that's not to say you have to go sign up at a code camp or a boot camp or anything like that, but there is good structured curriculum out there that you can follow that will give you a very thorough knowledge of here's how to do these things in this language. I used to recommend an author who wrote some really good material back in the day, but they kind of went off the rails, kind of went off their rocker a little bit, and so I don't recommend their stuff anymore, so I won't even say their name on stream, but there was someone who worked on a very good Python tutorial back in the day. But again, they kind of went off the deep end around the pandemic and, very much a conspiracy theorist and started lashing out at people on social media. And so I don't recommend their material anymore. But there are good materials out there to go learn a specific technology that follows a structure. But to just look through the documentation and go, okay, well, I read through Python docs and I followed a couple of tutorials, and so now I think I know Python. That's a much harder sell to a company than to say, I followed this structured curriculum, or I went and, I did this Udemy course or whatever. Go buy any one thing at Udemy for $10 and they're going to flood you with $10 offers. Like, go buy this for $10, go buy this for $10. It's a good investment. You don't have to go spend like hundreds of dollars on education for that kind of stuff. There's a lot of free material out there as well. And when you're stuck on something, you can certainly go look on YouTube and say, how do I do this thing in Python? Or go ask ChatGPT or whatever, how do I do this thing in Python? You'll get a pretty specific sort of find as far as like what you get as a response. There's going to be a lot of material out there. But I would always want to follow some kind of structured curriculum when you're learning something new for the first time, especially if this is the first programming that you've ever done. You really want some good structure around like control logic and functions and objects and things like object-oriented programming principles and things like that. You want something that's very structured. Another thing that you can do, for example, the school that I taught at, all of their curriculum is open source. It's the backend program is Ruby, the front end program is JavaScript and React. But you can also look at the Ruby curriculum that they have and try to figure out, how do I do this stuff in Python? So you can always go follow other curriculum if it looks like a good structure, but it's not specific to the technology you want to learn. You can still follow the structure of, okay, they're teaching object-oriented stuff, they're teaching, hashes and arrays, and they're teaching, control blocks and control logic and things like that, and they're following the structure. I just need to go figure out, how do I do that in Python? But again, you need to be able to explain to potential employers, like, this is what I did with this curriculum. Like, I followed this curriculum about Ruby, but I did it for Python. And so, now I know how to do all these things in Python. And then demonstrate your skill, build out some projects, show them that you know how to do that stuff in Python. Because again, you're going to have to demonstrate that skill as part of the interview process. But thank you for the question. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out on YouTube today. From Python tutorials to conspiracy theories. Yeah. I mean, the person really went off the deep end, and they were like really lashing out at people and saying like a lot of victim mentality and saying that they were being attacked and harassed and whatever, when people are like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, nobody's saying anything to you about that kind of stuff. So Masquerade Blade, thank you for the follow. Appreciate the follow a couple of minutes ago. You would have saw the lights blink here in the background with the follow. So thank you for that. I'm always curious how people find the stream. So if you're hanging out on YouTube or Kick, or if you're new coming by on Twitch, let me know in chat like how you found the stream. I'm always curious how these sorts of things kind of propagate out and things like that. I'll share some other links kind of as we go as well. We've got a Discord community that you can go check out. We've got an anonymous questions channel where I will take questions that people ask and I'll post them in there. If you ever want to ask a question anonymously, you can ask my chatbot. So you can send a whisper over to my chatbot on Twitch. Even when I'm not streaming, you can always send a whisper over to my chatbot, and it'll show up in chat, but it's also going to copy it over to the anonymous questions channel on Discord. You can reach out to me on Twitter and on LinkedIn. I use the same username there, as well as Kick and so on. And so you can send me whispers on those platforms or direct messages on those platforms, and I'll probably generalize your question. I'm going to do my best to answer it for you on that platform, but I'm probably going to generalize the question and also put that in the anonymous questions channel and bring that up on a future stream as well. If you ever want a resume review, I do free resume reviews here on the channel. I'll like pull up your resume and we'll like go over it with people. I do ask that you anonymize your contact info so you don't get doxxed. Unless you're super okay with like your phone number, your email being out there, then you send it over as is. There's a checkbox on the form that says, you know, I'm okay with the resume as is. And by checking that box, you're giving me permission to show your contact info or whatever you put on the resume, that you're okay with me showing that on stream. If you want a private review, I do private reviews. I do charge money for those unless you're a student or you are unemployed, in which case I don't charge you money. But any money that I do charge, it all goes back into the fundraising and stuff that I do for diversity in tech. So I don't keep any of that money. And let's see what else. So we got that. If you're not already over on YouTube, here's a link to my YouTube channel. Got lots of playlists. I don't run any ads on there right now. Like I don't run any ads. YouTube may pop up like an initial pre-roll ad, same as here on Twitch. You get that pre-roll ad, but otherwise I try to keep all my ads shut off. And I try to make my content free everywhere. So there's no paywalls or anything like that. I've got some newsletters that you can subscribe to over on the website, techinterview.guide. You can go check out this as a website. I've got 3 newsletters you can subscribe to. Also, if you're hanging out on Twitch, / giveaway. We're going to draw for the giveaway here in a little bit. We've got a giveaway going every time I stream in the month of April. You can enter the giveaway, and I'm going to give away like some small thing. And every daily entry that you get is going to qualify you for a big monthly giveaway. And that big monthly giveaway is this giant 3D printed dragon model that I'm currently airbrushing. So it all used to be this color. It all used to be this dark blue color. And I'm going through and I'm airbrushing, and it's not as easy to see because of all the light, but there's a lot of shading. You can kind of see a little bit of the shading that I've gotten in on the wings here. But there's a lot of shading that I'm building in. You can actually see some of the shadow that I've airbrushed here on the front. That's actually like airbrushed shadow. The bottom here is a very like icy white color. It looks very pale blue on here, but the paint is also very reflective. You can see the paint reflecting off the hind leg back here. So it's a very reflective pearlescent kind of paint that I'm airbrushing on here. And I'm going to be doing more airbrushing on the back. I'll be doing more vivid color down the back and some of the wings. And then this is going to be our April giveaway. So every entry that you get on the daily giveaway, you're going to get an entry for this dragon model. And we're going to have some other giveaways as well at the end of the month. And that drawing is going to be on May the 2nd. So every time I'm streaming in the month of April, come by, do / giveaway in chat, and that'll give you an entry. If you're on Kick or if you're on YouTube, you are going to have to come over to Twitch if you want to be part of the giveaway, but they are worldwide. I will ship this stuff anywhere in the world. If you are not in the domestic US, then we can chat about like maybe splitting the shipping, especially if it's something like the Dragon or one of the other things I want to give away, because that shipping is going to get a little expensive. But for the little things that I want to ship out, I will generally cover the shipping on those. So let me show you an example. So this is not necessarily going to be what we give away today, but on this coming Tuesday when I stream, Tuesday night, I'm going to be building a catalog of all the different things that I can do, laser engraving and 3D printing and things like that, that I can give away with proper licensing and all that kind of stuff. Because I don't just like take somebody's thing and like give it away. I make sure that I've got a license that I can like give the stuff away. So I just want to show a couple of examples of things that I can do as part of the laser engraving. And then whoever we draw as a recipient, I'll send you a whisper on Twitch just to let you know that I got your message. You'll send me your contact info. But once I get this catalog thing built on Tuesday, you'll be able to kind of go through and pick and tell me exactly what you want as your giveaway gift. Let me just have a look at what else is going on YouTube. Had a bunch of other stuff come in. Can you please share the school name if possible? Yeah, it's turing.edu. Let me drop it in chat for you over here. So turing.edu. So you can go check that out, and they've got all their curriculum in Ruby and in JavaScript. But like I said, you can just follow the structure of it and then go figure out how do I do this stuff in Python or whatever other language you want to do. Cool. So let me show you just a couple of examples of these are things that I've laser etched in the past. Now these were part of a giveaway that we did earlier. Thou shalt not try me, Mood 24/7. These are reserved for Royal Nomi, who got all of these on a giveaway, and I'll be giving them these in person in a couple of weeks. Adulthood, 1 star out of 5, too hard, do not recommend. Sorry, lots of post-it notes here. This one says, my birthstone is a coffee bean. So I got lots of like these funny little sarcastic kinds of signs that I can make. This one was just a dad joke, because I'm also really, really big into dad jokes. The guy that stole my diary just died. My thoughts are with his family. So we can do dad jokes. We can do lots of those kinds of things. We can also laser engrave little signs. So this is just 3 different pieces of wood, and the laser engraver just cuts out. This one was just the outline. The second layer, there was a little bit of the pattern cut out, and then of course the welcome sign is like really cut out. And when you layer them all together, it makes this cool little sign when you lay them out properly. That one goes that way. That one goes that way. And then I may also go in and airbrush some of these as well and get like some, like just a really light dusting of paint or something on there. So like this would be the kind of thing that we give away. These are some inspirational ones that I etched last night. And if you're familiar on Twitch with the MakerDeck platform, it's a bunch of people that are typically doing 3D printing, but I also get my laser engraver on there. So these are some of the ones that I made last night. So falling down is an accident, staying down is a choice. So these ones are just inspirational sayings, not so much the funny sarcastic. So one day or day one, it's your decision. So one day I want to do that, or today is day one of me actually doing that. This one says, you don't have to be perfect to be amazing. And then the fourth one I made last night says, you only fail when you stop trying. So these were all laser etched on a laser engraver. And if you're familiar with my YouTube channel, you'll have seen some of my laser engraving videos, including a YouTube short that I made recently. It was my first YouTube short. It was a lot of fun putting that together. Trying to come up with content that's literally 60 seconds long is a bit of a challenge. But those would be the kinds of things that we're going to give away. So exclamation point giveaway, get in on that. I'm also going to come up with some 3D printed stuff that I can, hopefully fit in like a flat envelope and mail those out. So we'll have 3D printed stuff. We'll have painted stuff that I'm going to do. We'll have the laser engraving stuff, or the etching, or the cutouts. So yeah, so Tuesday I want to like put this like little catalog site together where you can go pick what you want to get from there. So that'll be Tuesday's stream. Thursday's stream is typically where I'm doing like airbrushing and so on. So Thursday I'm probably going to be airbrushing that ice dragon, or I'm going to be working on the resin one. So this one was actually a commission that I was asked to do from a family member, and I'm going to be airbrushing this to look like Smaug from Lord of the Rings. And the wings actually just finished on the resin printer a day or two ago, so I got to get those finished up and post-processed and whatever, and then I can start airbrushing that one as well. So yeah, so Tuesday it'll be the catalog. Thursday is going to be the airbrushing, and every time I stream, you can come by and do exclamation point giveaway. We'll do at least one drawing for a giveaway, and every entry for the day goes into your monthly drawing, and then the number of tickets that you kind of accumulate over the month as you're here, that will give you better chances of getting the dragon or other prizes that we're going to give away from there. Let's see, what else did I miss in chat? I missed some other stuff that was rolling by here. So yeah, get in on that giveaway. We'll do the giveaway drawing here in a minute. Thindall says, I was going to do stuff, but came over. Oh, the cat came over, dropped herself on my arm. As you know, it's against the law to move a sleeping cat. Yep, for sure. Well, my 100-pound cat just showed up here. This is Riker. Riker likes to come say hi to everybody. Come on. He also loves climbing up in my lap and snuggling, don't you? Yeah, you're a big snug puppy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Good boy. Sit. Can you sit, handsome? Oh, okay. Oh, and he winked at me too. All right, so you get a cookie because you winked. All right, there you go. He has me very well trained. All my plans for the future start with me waking up tomorrow with a sense of purpose and discipline that I haven't previously existed a single day in my life. It's good. It's good. So yeah, so we're gonna do that giveaway here pretty soon. So if you're hanging out on YouTube or if you're hanging out over on Kick, get over to Twitch real quick and enter that giveaway. We're gonna do that drawing in about 5 minutes or so. So on the half hour, I'm gonna do that drawing. So you got about 5.5 minutes to come over and do the giveaway. Oh, someone got a clip. All right, let me go check out the clip. Kitty, that's great. That's awesome. That is a big fluffy cat for sure. Good job, Sindel. Um, yeah, good deal, good deal. Yeah, and Aurelie on YouTube. The other one was Free Code Camp. Let me just drop that one in chat for you as well. So you can just search for Free Code Camp. You'll find the site. So any kind of site that's going to have structured curriculum is going to be the best thing to follow. Just going and learning like the occasional topic here and there, you're going to learn, but it's not going to be as structured, and it's going to fill in more sort of holes and gaps in the knowledge if you can follow like structured curriculum. It'll be a lot better. So, and if you do follow something like Turing, but you kind of translate it into Python or whatever, if you do run into specific questions, then you can look for more specific answers on how to get past specific problems and so on that you have. I need to remember to hydrate more. I had some blood work done last week, and they're like, "You are chronically dehydrated." So I need to remember to hydrate a lot more often than I do. Yeah, one dang platypus. I love me some dad jokes. So here are a couple of dad jokes that I've had. So my kids actually got me one of these like little tearaway calendar things. So what was it like before the crowbar was invented? Most crows had to drink at home. Someone asked me why I was jumping before taking a sip of my juice. I told them the carton said to shake well before drinking. My husband tripped and dropped a laundry basket full of freshly ironed clothes. I watched it all unfold. When I was working my first job out of college, I was so broke they shut off my electricity. Those were the darkest days of my life. So those are the kinds of things that I would love to just put on those little, wood signs and engrave those. So so that's the kind of thing that I want to kind of make this catalog where I can have a bunch of these, sarcastic things and funny things that I've already got made, all these designs that I've already got, but also have a way for you to sort of customize, like, take this dad joke and put that on here, or here's a quote from some famous person that is really meaningful to you that you would like on a little sign. And they're not very large. If you're on metric, it's 100. Well, it's 10 centimeters by 15 centimeters. If you're imperial, it's 4 inches by 6 inches. So they're not huge, but they mail really well. They show up in one piece. I write on the envelope, "Do not bend." And if it's something where it's like this welcome sign that come in several pieces, then what I do is I tape these to like a piece of paper or put a piece of cardboard in there so it doesn't bend. But I still write on the envelope like "Do not bend." And it's literally a few dollars to mail these kinds of things. If it's just a single sign, it's not much money at all to send, so I don't mind sending those to people. But if you are international, then we can talk about shipping or splitting the shipping or whatever, depending on the cost and where you're located and things like that. You had fun with the Despair Ink ones, yeah. I guess I'm not a positive person. That's all right. I mean, there's a lot of really fun humor out there for sure. So that's the thing that I'm going to be building on Tuesday. So come on by. I'll be writing what I want to do is I want to write a Python script that goes through and it finds all of the images and it can build a catalog out of that based on like the folder names. Like I've got a folder name for like funny things, and so it'll be like a whole category of like these are all the funny things that we have. Or under funny, it'll be like funny things, but these are the sarcastic ones, and these are the ones about coffee, and these are the ones about sloth and whatever, because there's some really fun little sloth signs and things like that. Mr. Eagle39, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you dropping by. And so Tuesday, I'm going to be building out the Python script that's going to build all of that. Ideally, I can have that build like a Wix.com CSV or something like that. I can just put like a quick little e-commerce site together. And then what I want to do is say like, you know, these things will be like a couple of bucks, but then if you're chosen as a giveaway winner, so get in on the giveaway, exclamation point giveaway, that I can just send you like a coupon code or something that's going to discount everything 100%. So it won't actually cost you anything. So I'll still get it like as an order of like go etch this thing, and I'll etch that up and I'll ship it out within a couple of days. So feel free to get in on that giveaway. We got about 30 seconds left before I said I was going to draw for the giveaway for the day. So if you're watching on Kick, if you're watching on YouTube, last chance, you got to get over here because there's a delay streaming over to those platforms. If you really want to get in on the giveaway, come over for that. Akash also said on YouTube, from your substantial experience in tech, I was wondering if you could briefly talk about some of the agile terms that many company projects use and have asked in interviews, like acceptance criteria, definition of done, and so on. Yeah, I'll absolutely get in on that as soon as I do the giveaway. So last chance. If you want to get in on that giveaway, just type exclamation point giveaway. Again, this is open to everyone in the world. So exclamation point giveaway. I'm going to go ahead and draw. So we got a handful of people that are watching on Twitch. So this will be your last opportunity to get in on it. Please don't shoot. All right, twisted your arm. Good enough. All right, I'm going to go ahead and draw. So we are going to do giveaway daily. This is going to ask for a drum roll. And our recipient for today is RC Maniac. RC Maniac had a 1 in 10 chance. So RC, you're coming to town in a couple of weeks, so I think instead of mailing it to you, I'll just hang on to it. But let me know if you're still in chat. That's the other thing too, is I want to work in some kind of timer. If you don't respond in an amount of time, then we will redraw. We got Marcus over on Kick. What's going on, Marcus? So we're doing a giveaway right now, unless RC Maniac does not respond, in which case I'm going to redraw. But unfortunately, the chat command for exclamation point giveaway, it only works over on Twitch. So if you got a Twitch account, come over to Twitch, get in the giveaway. Every daily entry you get, you're going to get some kind of prize from me. I'm going to be building that catalog on Tuesday. But every entry is going to give you an entry to draw for this giant 3D printed dragon, and it comes apart. Like the wings come apart, so it'll ship flat, and all these things will be. So there will be some assembly required, but super glue is going to work really great. But basically, we've got this cool 3D printed dragon that I'm airbrushing. You can see kind of the translucent or the pearlescent paint that we got on there. It's very, very reflective. But it all started out this very dark blue, and I've been going through and like building up paint layers on and so on it. And I've got more layering to do, so I'll be working on this Thursday night on the stream. Tuesday I do programming. Sunday I do career preparation and interview prep and resume reviews and things like that. So thanks for dropping by. Twitch is the same username, so Ian Douglas 736 on Twitch as well. Areli, you'll have to come over to Twitch to do the giveaway. It won't work on YouTube. The giveaway thing only works over on Twitch. So come on over to Twitch, do the giveaway. RC Maniac did not respond, so I'm going to go ahead and redraw, but I'll give everybody a chance to come over. So yeah, come on over to Twitch, Marcus and Areli. If you've got a Twitch account, come on over. You'll need to follow the channel and then do bang giveaway. And then we'll do another drawing in a couple of minutes, since we didn't hear from RC. So come on over, get in on the giveaway. And like I said, every time I stream, if you come over to Twitch and do exclamation point giveaway, you can go back and watch on YouTube and whatever, but you have to do the chat command on Twitch. I haven't tied it in with the YouTube chat commands, and Kick doesn't have an API for chat commands, so I can't do it over there. But come on over to Twitch, get in the giveaway. You'll need to follow the channel over here, and so I'll drop that link in chat for all of you. So twitch.tv Ian Douglas 736. So I'll drop that over here. So yeah, come on over, get in the giveaway. We'll do the drawing again in a couple minutes. So I'll give everybody like another 5 minutes or so to come over, since there's a bit of a lag broadcasting over there. So come on by. And so yeah, so you just saw in the chat over here, even when I'm offline, you can always come by and you can always ask a question to my chatbot. So you send a whisper over to my chatbot on Twitch, and it'll post in our Discord community in an anonymous questions channel. Whenever you whisper something to the bot, it'll show up in chat as an anonymous question. So if you want to ask a question and you don't want your name attached to it, it's totally okay. I want people to feel safe asking questions. And so if you don't want your username, applied, or if, let's say you're applying for a job and, you don't want coworkers or whatever to, see that it's you asking a question about like, how do I apply for this job? You can always ask anonymously, or you can reach out to me on the social platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, Kick. I'm Ian Douglas 736 on all those. If you go to Linktree, same username, you can get my Mastodon account. You can connect with me on Mastodon as well. So any of those platforms, you can send me a whisper or direct message of some kind, and you can always ask questions there. And I'll do my best to answer you on that platform, but I may also bring your question over to our Discord community, just so I can ask it again on a live stream sometime, because I think that asking those questions and answering it to everybody kind of helps people understand a little bit better about what's going on in the industry. If you've got a question, chances are pretty good someone else has that question. I want to help out as many people as I can. So again, all my stuff is free. Go over to techinterview.guide. The whole website's free. There's no ads. There's no promos other than promoting my own stuff. I've got newsletters you can subscribe to. I'm also going to be drawing names out of the newsletter for, so from one of the 3 newsletters, I'm going to choose one subscriber a month from one of the newsletters to also get some kind of giveaway prize. So anybody that's subscribed, you've also got another opportunity to just get some kind of fun little giveaway. It won't be something big like the dragon, but it'll be something just as a thank you for being a subscriber. So, all right, we got Snitch over there. It's the first time, so thanks for coming by. I don't know if you're Marcus or Relly, but thanks for coming by. Yep, just bang giveaway. You'll get a little thing saying, all right, you got in the giveaway, and we got one total entry for the month. So that's also going to track your monthly entries as well. Once the giveaway is over, this is the other thing that I feel really important to tell people. Once the giveaway is over, I erase all the stuff out of my database. I don't keep any data. I only keep your address long enough to go buy a shipping label, and then I scrub all that off my system. And so I don't keep any old data. So if you've ever been in a giveaway and you've received a gift or whatever, if you get another giveaway gift, you have to give me your address every time, because I don't keep it. I'm not interested in keeping people's data for that kind of stuff. Same thing with the newsletter. I don't, like, once you subscribe, I don't like constantly remarket to you. I don't spam you with other stuff. Once you unsubscribe, it literally deletes you out of my database. Or once the series is over, it'll delete you out of the database for that newsletter. I don't keep any of that data. So if you subscribe to all 3, once you finish all 3, I have no data about you in my database at all anymore. Even the fact that you used to be subscribed, I don't keep any of that data on my systems. I'm not interested in hanging on to long-term data like that, partly from a security point of view, but partly because I want you to trust that, I'm not just gonna spam people with content. So the most you'll hear from me kind of outside of the newsletters is just an email saying like, hey, I chose you as a giveaway recipient. So cool. So we got Snitch in there. I'm not sure if that was Marcus or Areli from YouTube. So let me know in chat, Snitch. Did you come over from Kick or did you come over from YouTube? Because we'll wait just another like 2 minutes or so for someone else to come over, because someone else said that they were going to come over and do the giveaway as well. So let me know in chat, and then we'll go ahead and we'll redraw, because we never did hear back from RC Maniac. Either that or RC Maniac just didn't respond, which I'm guessing it's the latter. Pikachu came over from Twitch. All right, sweet. Pikachu, good to see you as well. So yeah, so every time I stream, so Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, I may do the occasional extra stream from time to time, because I like giving stuff away. It's fun. I may do the occasional extra stream, so make sure that notification bell is on there. You can see when I'm streaming. And every time I stream the daily one, you'll have an opportunity to get something. Like I said, we're going to build up a catalog on Tuesday, but like this is the kind of thing that I've been building, like little motivational sayings or little dad jokes. But I also do like little 3D printed figurines. I've given away like big articulated dragons. Last May, we gave away like 70 articulated dragons. October, we made little kit cards, which are just flat little cards. And you break all the pieces out and they put them together and make like little TIE fighters or Star Trek ships or whatever, little Christmas ornaments, things like that. And because those pack really well in a flat envelope, and we mailed off a bunch of those. We mailed off, I want to say like 2 or 3 dozen of those in the month of October. And then at the end of the month, we do like a big giveaway, and that's going to be the dragon. I've got some other fun stuff lined up to give away too, not just the dragon. So cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and draw in 60 more seconds. So at 40 minutes past the hour, I'm going to go ahead and draw another one. So I'm going to just go get that command ready to type in. So yeah, you got about 45 seconds if you want to get in on that giveaway. And you do need to be in chat. You need to let me know that you're still there. Now, if you came over to Twitch to enter the giveaway and then you went back to YouTube or Kick, that's fine. Just let me know in that chat that you saw the thing. And if there's a discrepancy, then we'll have to figure out like who it really is. But yeah, we'll do that drawing in about 20 seconds. 15 seconds. All right, cool. So yeah, so this is kind of what I do on Sundays. I help people out with resume reviews. I help people with interview preparation, questions about working in the tech industry, how to get a job, how to learn programming, all that kind of stuff. That's my Sunday stream. Tuesday is going to be like I'm typically working in Python. So Akash, if you want to like get into you know, the programming stuff, or sorry, Areli, if you want to get into Python stuff, you're welcome to come back on Tuesday and ask questions about Python. Thursday I do more maker stuff, so more like 3D printing and painting and laser engraving and things like that. How do resume reviews work? So you can send over a resume to this link. So just go check out this link in chat. There's a form to fill out. So, well, on that page, there's a link to go to a Google form where you fill it out and you say, you know, you want a public review or a private review. If you want a public review, I do it on the stream. If you want a private review, I'll contact you and we'll coordinate a time to actually have a private review. And we'll do that. Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do that drawing again. And we'll get another drum roll going here. One dank platypus, you have been chosen. One dank platypus, let me know that you're still in chat, and I will have you send me your information on Twitch. So all I need is your name and your mailing address. And whatever platform you're on, I'll contact you with the shipping information once we ship things out. Once the catalog is made on Tuesday, I'll send you a link to the catalog where you'll be able to go choose like what kind of thing you want. Again, it'll be laser engraved things or like little cutout things. I've got things like coasters and little keychain things that I can like cut out and engrave. If you want like a 3D printed keychain with your name on it, you know, things along those lines, we'll be able to do all those kinds of things. Hey, Aurelie, thanks for making it over. So one dank platypus, let me know you're in chat. If you're not here, we're going to redraw again. So Aurelie, you can still get in on the giveaway. So still do exclamation point giveaway. Because we haven't actually had a giveaway recipient actually tell us in chat that they're still there and paying attention. So get in on the giveaway because we may be redrawing again. But on Tuesday, I'll be sending everybody a link to like the catalog thing, and then you'll be able to choose which kind of thing you want. Got Mighty Bean in there. Good deal, good deal. I think Westry's already in the giveaway. But you got one entry for the monthly giveaway. So I've got logic in there that'll count like how many entries you have for the month and things like that. So until we actually draw a recipient, you can still get in on the daily giveaway. So so make sure you do exclamation point giveaway. Type this up in chat. So we had Aurelie come over from YouTube. So Aurelie, we're gonna wait for you to do exclamation point giveaway in chat, and then I'm gonna do a drawing again because we didn't hear from One Dang Platypus either. Having some problems receiving the code on my phone, so I'm unable to chat on Twitch. Oh, okay. I can't enter for you though, unfortunately. Let's do this. I'm going to enter as my chatbot for you. So my chatbot has entered the giveaway, and if the chatbot gets chosen, that's for Aurelie. Just so we're all clear for transparency purposes. My bot is in the giveaway. just for Areli. So if it draws my bot, that means Areli on YouTube was chosen as the recipient. But yeah, unfortunately for the foreseeable future, you're gonna have to come over to Twitch to enter the giveaways. But then every entry is gonna give you that. So actually, what I can do now that, well, no, because it's tied to the user ID. I can't just go in and change the username because I'm also tracking it based on the Twitch ID in case a Twitch user changes their name. But all right, cool. Well, we're gonna do the giveaway again. Hopefully, someone's actually gonna be in chat to answer this time. So that recipient is Jerry Switek. Jerry Switek, I didn't even see you sneak in here, but Jerry Switek got in on the giveaway. So Jerry, let me know if you're still in chat. And if you're not there, I'm going to redraw again really quickly because I'm tired of redrawing. So somebody, anybody, please let me know that you're still in chat when I draw your name. For the monthly giveaway, you won't need to be present. But for these daily ones, I do want you to be present. Helps with engagement and things like that. So let me know, Jerry, that you're still in chat. Otherwise, I'm only going to give you like 30 seconds to respond, and I'm going to draw again. I want to have like an automated timer thing kick in to let me know when it's time to redraw. But I'm just kind of watching a clock right now. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to respond, and then we'll move on to someone else. Jerry Switek, or if anybody knows Jerry and knows what other channel Jerry's lurking in, Jerry's got about 15 seconds to get over here and claim their gift. All right, redrawing again. No word from Jerry either. All right. Wait, Jerry Switek got chosen again. What are the odds on that? All right. Well, we didn't hear from Jerry last time, so I'm just going to do another one. Maybe no drum roll this time. The drummer's getting a little tired. All right, Pikachu. Pikachu, you've been chosen. I'm pretty sure you're still here because you just came in a minute ago. So Pikachu, congratulations. Let me know you're still hanging in chat. There you are. Sweet. All right, so Pikachu, you are the recipient of today's daily giveaway. So send me a Twitch Whisper with your name and your address. I will respond back to you on Tuesday once we build out the catalog of all the different things that I can do. Laser engraving, 3D printing, things like that. Yeah, Pikachu, we chose you. And we will, yeah, you were the first one today, please. So I'll send you that link on Tuesday, and then you can tell me which thing you actually want. Some of them I've already got pre-engraved, but I'm gonna have things like coaster sets and like the little welcome sign, things like that. And then if you want like a little bit of airbrushing or something on there, I can like blast a little color on it or something if you want. But otherwise, I'll get that stuff in the mail this week for you. The other dragon that we gave away Thursday is actually still sitting here. I didn't have a chance to get to the post office, but this is the dragon that we gave away on Thursday. So this is the other one that I airbrushed. So this was me learning how to airbrush for the first time. So I've done other painting in the past, but it was all by brush and by hand. This one I did with airbrushing. So this was my first attempt at airbrushing. And there are a few things that I would do differently if I were to do it again, but it mostly came out pretty nice. And then the face was mostly done by hand, like the tongue and the teeth and the eyes were done by hand, but everything else on this thing was done with airbrush. And that was also that blue color. So you can see there was a lot of work and effort that went into painting this. This was a lot of fun to paint. And this is going out to northeastern corner of the United States. So I got to get this taken apart, not broken apart, but taken apart and get that sent out. I've got their contact info. And like I said, there will be some assembly required because the wings come off, the head comes off, the tail comes off here as well. And so the recipient will be responsible for like putting this whole thing together. But it's just on like a little square block thing and it just plugs in together. A little bit of super glue. It's going to hold that together really nicely. And that'll be all wrapped up. So, you know, if you get the ice dragon at the end of the month, it'll be the same sort of thing. You know, you're going to get all the pieces individually wrapped and bubble wrapped and, you know, tissue wrapped and however I pack it up. It's going to be like really safely packaged. And then there'll be other things that you need to attach as well. Like on the wings, for example, the wing has these little breakout things here on the back, and that's basically these little claws. So these little claws, you're going to break off one of each of these and put them in the wing. And again, just crazy glue is going to hold that in. So you can kind of put it at whatever angle you want to put it in. So you get to customize the dragon a little bit for your liking. There's a couple of horns that go on the head as well. It's a really, really nice model when you put it all together. So I got to get that one finished, boxed up, and get that mailed out tomorrow. So I'll be doing that this afternoon. Some assembly required, Gloop not included. I mean, if you're into 3D printing, you've got Gloop. Gloop would be better than Super Glue for sure. It would be way, way better than Super Glue. But if you only have Super Glue, then Super Glue is going to work great. But you can also put it together. Well, other than that, like the neck and the head has to get glued on because it won't, like it doesn't have the same little square plug to stay in place. But all the rest of it, like the head and the neck, are two different pieces on one of those pegs. So this part actually comes apart here as well. And that part stays together, but the part of the body that fits onto the main torso of the dragon, this has to get glued on in some way. The little peg, little insert in here isn't like thick enough and deep enough to hold that in place. So you will need to glue that part. So even if you get the ice dragon, it'll be the same thing. That part has to get actually glued on there. So I tried not to put too much paint on here. So if you want to use Gloop, it'll actually like chemically weld the plastic. And I'll make sure that it's sanded down so you've got like better surface area for that kind of stuff. Am I done for the day? Nope. If you've got questions, I'm happy to stay and hang out. If you got like a resume that you want to send over for a review, so let me know in chat that you've sent over a resume. I'm happy to hang out on chat and answer more questions and stuff like that. But yeah, Aurelie, feel free to drop by. I have to be streaming when you do the giveaway command, though. If I'm not streaming, it won't accept it. The chatbot won't accept it. So you sent one over? Okay, cool. Let me go pull that up. All right, so we got a resume to review. Let me go grab that real quick. And that's going to be over here, over here, over here. Cool. So what I like to do for the resume review is kind of recap like the little notes that you put in there of like what kind of feedback you're looking for on the resume, and then I'll actually pull it up here on the stream and we'll take a look at it from there. So cool. So you're looking for an internship level role, just general overview. Junior software developer, entry level, targeting FANG companies like Amazon, Google, so on, focusing on back-end development. Okay, cool. Let's pull it up and take a look. So I'm going to rename the resume, so hopefully it won't give away too much about your real name and things like that. Okay, so you sent it over as a docx file. I'm hoping that's going to open okay on Google Drive. Actually, let me open that on Google Drive since it wasn't a PDF. And then I'll rename it from there. Okay, so you have your real name on there. So if it's cool, like keeping your full name on there, then I'll just show it as is. Otherwise, generally I tell people like anonymize it unless you're like really comfortable with having your contact or your contact info out there. I mean, you change the phone number and stuff like that, and your location is Mars. That's great. But yeah, let me know in chat that you're cool with. You can open all the links if you want. You're okay with it? Okay, cool. All right. So let's pull this up. Give me a moment to get that browser window resized, and we will go over to here. And I'll pull up the correct browser window. And I will resize this a little bit so it'll fit on the screen a little better. All right, well, let's go take a look at Mike's resume here. Let me shrink this up just a little bit and pull that over here. There we go. All right, so let's go have a look at Mike's resume. So the first thing I like to do is kind of zoom out on it. Oops, I don't want to print it. So I like to zoom out on it just to kind of see what's your overall use of the page. And I think overall it's a pretty clean layout. Your profile block at the top is really big. You write a lot of text in here. So we're going to dive in a little bit on what you write in here and how well does that convey the value that you bring to a company. You list out some technical skills, you get some education, professional experience, project experience. I like that you're breaking out your professional and project experience. I'll talk a little bit about my preference as a hiring manager and the kinds of things that I look for. And so we'll have a look through that here in just a sec. Hey, Joe Chen, good to see you in chat. If you want a resume review, you're welcome to send one over as well. I'll do those here on the stream. as well. So let's zoom in. Let's see what we got. So when it comes to location, I usually tell people, like, unless you're looking for a job in that location, you generally want to take the location off your resume. You don't necessarily want them to know where you live because they can bias against you from a geographic point of view. If they ever have an expectation of having you come back to the office, they might be like, well, Mike doesn't live here. Are we going to have to relocate Mike, or is Mike going to quit if we tell him he's got to come to the office? And so it can disqualify you from jobs and you don't even know it. And so it's something to be aware of. It doesn't happen often, but it could happen. So I generally tell people, like, if you're in New York City and you're looking for a job in New York City, then keep it on there. But if you're in New York City and you're looking for a job in LA, then you probably want to take New York City off because you don't want them to start to bias against you and be like, well, we like him, but are we going to have to pay to move him out here? Anything like that. The other thing that you can do is put the location of where the job is to make it look like you're going to move there or that you already live there. And if they say, like, oh, we see that you're in Austin, Texas, and you're like, well, I'm actually planning to move there in a month. And so I'm looking for a job in that location. Be like, oh, okay, perfect. And then if you get a job offer, then you can ask them, by the way, I'm planning to move there. Can you help me with relocation? So you want to ask them that, like, way after the fact, like after you negotiate everything else, try to negotiate some moving expenses. But otherwise, I generally tell people, like, leave your location off the resume because it can subject you to bias. Email, GitHub, LinkedIn, those are all fine. All right, let's talk about this profile. Information tech undergraduate at university, motivated to stay current in consistently evolving field of software engineering. In spare time, enjoy exploring new tech, including Golang, Python, etc. RESTful APIs also acquire hands-on experience with microservices using Docker, Minikube, Kubernetes to deploy simple apps. Additionally, enjoy challenging myself with algorithmic problems. Okay. From a hiring manager's perspective, I see that you're still in school. So for me, I'm looking at this of like, okay, you're applying for an internship level role. Some of this is pretty buzzwordy and actually doesn't provide a lot of value to a business. So a couple of things that I would actually take out of here. I think it's okay to say you're currently an undergrad or, seeking an internship or something like that. But you're talking about, like, oh, in my spare time, all I do is programming. That makes me think that maybe you've got like a bit of an imbalance of work-life balance. There is a way to sort of humanize yourself as far as, what other hobbies do you have without necessarily listing hobbies on the resume. But you don't want to make it sound like this is all you do. This is all you spend your time on. But we'll talk a little bit about this. I like that you're talking about, these are some things that I've kind of built up over time. I think you could probably tie these things in together and say, aside from my school studies, I'm also learning the following things. But as a hiring manager, I would look at this list and go, you're taking on a lot. Like, you're learning a lot of things. And I would worry that you're spreading yourself too thin and that you haven't acquired very much depth in any one of these things. And so in the industry, we call it being a T-shaped engineer, where you have your breadth of knowledge and then you have your depth of knowledge. As an entry-level developer, as an intern, you want to narrow the breadth of knowledge to say, I'm focusing on this language and this technology, and like that's where I'm putting all of my energy, instead of saying I'm trying to learn 4 different programming languages as well as other technologies, because you also list C and C++ on here. So that's 5 programming languages. You mention Ruby up here, but you don't list Ruby as a language here. You don't mention any kind of frameworks, anything like that. You mention RESTful APIs, but are you building them or consuming them? Because you don't mention any API work in here either. So we'll talk about some of that, but these are just kind of initial concerns that I would see as a hiring manager looking over this. But I think some of this is a little buzzwordy and probably won't help you much on the job. Same thing with algorithmic problems like LeetCode and HackerRank. Competitive coding is not as important to a lot of companies. They do want to know that you've got good problem-solving skills and that you can be quick about programming challenges, but you don't necessarily have to put that on the resume. So what you want to do instead, if you're going to write some kind of introduction here, you want it to be fairly short. I would say try to keep it to a maximum of 3 lines. But in that 3 lines, you need to convey, this is the value that I bring to your company. This is the immediate value that I bring. I'm a high energy, programmer with a lot of interesting background and perspective on development. I love working on back end, especially with APIs and microservices. And, I'm learning additional technologies such as Docker and Kubernetes. You can explain that in 3 lines and kind of get the same point across without filling it up with all these buzzwords, because this profile intro is quite large. I would say trim it down by half and just explain at a more conceptual level. I'm a back-end developer looking for an internship. I'm focusing on microservices and Docker deployment. You want to talk about the value you bring to that company. So you can also customize this a little bit based on the job post where you're applying. You can come in and you can just rewrite a little bit, because you also kind of want to tie in their company mission a little bit if possible. If their company mission is like, we're all about energy conservation, then you can explain in this introduction, I'm a backend developer who's really passionate about energy conservation, and I'm into building microservices and backend and blah, blah, blah. And so they kind of see immediately like, oh, you actually care about the industry that we're in. You're immediately a more interesting candidate for that job than me, who might apply for that job and all I've got are the technical skills, but I don't talk about sort of that alignment. As much as I hate that buzzword, if I don't sort of mention how I'm already kind of headed in that direction, you're a more interesting candidate to that company, because you're talking about, I'm already headed that way, you're headed that way, we should be working together on this stuff. That's what you want to convey, but you need to do that in like 3 lines, not like 5.5. So I would trim that down. When it comes to the technical skills, operating systems are not important to most companies. So I would take that off. When it comes to the other kinds of skills, I've also got a resume sample that you can pull up. Let me see if I got it. Resume sample. And you can, I think I've got exclamation point resume sample in chat that you can pull up. And basically it'll show you like little snippets of things that you can sort of grab as far as layout. When I write out a skills block, I like to do something where I'm breaking up my languages. Libraries can also be your frameworks and things like that if you've got other kinds of databases. Now, if you don't have a lot of different libraries and databases, you can combine it on one line as just other technologies or something like that, where you can mention, Python and Flask. So Python would be a language, and then under other technologies, you would list like Flask and Postgres and so on. And so you don't have to break this down, especially if you've only got like 1 or 2 things, because then you've got all this other empty space on the page, and you want it to look kind of full. But you don't want to fill that up by listing just tons and tons and tons of programming languages, because it makes it look like you're spreading yourself too thin and you don't know any one of these really well. That's the impression that it gives. Also, the order that you put these in will vary depending on the job that you're applying. If you're applying for a JavaScript role, I wouldn't list them in this order. I would list JavaScript first, because you want to look like a JavaScript developer who happens to also know these other things. And so you'll rearrange these as well based on the job that you're applying to. Up here, you've got JavaScript with a capital S, which is the proper capitalization, but here you've got a lowercase s. Those kinds of things also stand out to more technical people who are reviewing your resume. HR probably won't care, but hiring managers and the actual interview team, they're going to spot things like that and think about your attention to detail. So make sure that you kind of go through very carefully and look for capitalization on that kind of stuff. Having HTML, CSS, technically those are languages. You could list them up here as languages. Git you can leave here, SQL you can leave here, N1QL, I'm not sure what that is. So some things, if it's a very specific kind of technology, you may want to explain what these things are. And then you jump into your education, which is fine. Now you're listing professional experience after that, where you're talking about code reviews, testing procedures, and so on. And then this actually just jogged my memory that I need to go over to YouTube and answer some questions about Agile over there. So I will get back to that question. If that person's still hanging out on YouTube, let me know. I'll definitely go in and answer those questions. Participated in code reviews, testing procedures to ensure quality, designed and wrote computer code using Golang, okay. Database queries by using N1QL, okay. So I'm wondering if this is like an N+1 kind of thing. Promoted GitHub Actions for test automation, okay. Assisted peers with given tasks, explain best practices. And then you're kind of listing things again here that you don't need to explain again, because you've already explained most of these keywords, and so you don't need to list them again here. The only one that I see here that you didn't explain is Docker, but you've actually got Docker up here. So I would probably figure out like, how can you mention Docker in here? Was that part of your GitHub Actions or something? I would probably just get that keyword on one of these bullet points and then just get rid of this down here at the bottom. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't realize about resumes is if you can quantify information, that's better than just I did a thing. These bullet points are all I did a thing, I did a thing, I did a thing, I did a thing. When I'm looking at a resume to go, should I call this person? What I want you to do on the resume is to kind of make me feel like you can come do this at my company too. It's like, okay, you participate in code reviews. Okay, you could come and do that here too. But if you said I participated in 50 code reviews, and ensured and increased quality by 20% or something, now you're going to catch my attention because you're actually putting numeric data in there to back up what you did. It's not always a possibility. The fact that you've already left that job, it's going to be really hard to go back and collect those statistics. But any opportunity that you have to actually collect statistics about, like, you designed and wrote computer code in Golang, okay, that's fine, but how much code? Was it 50 lines? Was it 1,000 lines? Like, you were there for almost 9 months. So how much code did you write? Can you quantify that in some way? Or how many applications did you write? Was it a single application? How many features did you add in Go? Things like that. Those would be things to kind of try to quantify if you can. Again, if you can't, that's okay. You don't want to make up numbers because they will probably ask you about the numbers. Like, how did you get that 20%, increase in quality? Like, how did you actually calculate that? And if you're like, oh, I pulled a number out of the thin air, then, it makes you look bad as a candidate. But anything that you can quantify about, like, how you measured it and things like that, try to get those things on there as well. If it's possible, if you can. It's not always possible. So having good action verbs, I participated, I designed, I developed, I promoted, those are all good action verbs. This is a really good list of I did a thing, I did a thing, I did a thing. If you can also talk about the impact that had, though, by putting some numeric data in there, that impact stands out a lot more to employers because they're going to want to look and go, oh, you made that thing 20% faster? Can you come and do that here too? Like, we would really like you to come and do that here too. So anything that you can kind of tease them about, I can also come do that, also makes you more enticing as a candidate. Again, I like that you broke up professional experience from project experience, because this shows kind of an awareness about, like, project experience is a very different kind of experience than actually like hands-on, kind of thing. Personal task tracking app with auth, list management, small visual aids to improve the user experience. All right. I like to write this as more of a user empathy statement of like who does this help? What is the problem that you're trying to solve here? This is a good indication of what you built. From a user empathy point of view, I would want to know why you built it. Now, the why might be, this is an assignment I had to write it, which is fine. But you still want to kind of convey the why about, like, who is the user? What problem is this solving for them? So you're talking a little bit about, it's got auth, you've got list management skills and things like that, visual aids for user experience, user interface like UI, UX, and that's fine. That's totally okay to talk about. But if you can talk about, like, users can track their personal habits for, increased personal productivity or something like that, like put a bit of a spin on it. Like, if you were going to, build this as like the next startup business or whatever, what would that elevator pitch be? So try to think about ways that you can explain that in like a single line. So again, as much as possible, you don't want these things to wrap onto another line if you can help it. Developed API service to work with a database. Okay, used MongoDB as primary database. So I would probably combine both of these and say I developed an API service to work with MongoDB and just bring this down to one bullet point. Created HTML pages by generating them using Go templates. All right, that's fine. And then I would put the tech stack as an actual bullet point itself. So if we kind of come back over to the resume samples here and how I do my projects. So this first one is kind of like the user empathy statement, which I like to do in italics, but you don't have to. And then a bullet point of like, tell me something fun and geeky that you learned, or something about how you built what you built. And then just tell me that this is the tech stack, but keep it the same font. You don't have to change the style and like make it smaller and change to an italic. Just make it another bullet point and just call out, this is the tech stack that I used. Now on this particular one, I threw a bold on here because sometimes you want to draw their attention to specific skills. And so it could be like, if you're applying for a JavaScript job, then you would, just put a little bit of bold on the page of wherever you mentioned JavaScript. If it's a JavaScript job, you want to show them where you've got experience using JavaScript. Now, which projects you put on here is also going to depend on the role that you're applying to, because some of your projects may be more applicable than others. Because this is your first job, well, actually, you mentioned either a full-time job or an internship. I think as an internship resume, this would be fine. If you're going for a real job, I would probably try to get a second project on here. And I think by minimizing this, and I'm going to talk about some other changes that you can make to the layout here as well. By minimizing this, you might have room for a second project. And again, you want to pick projects that you've built that are highly relevant to that company. So for example, you're doing things with auth, list management, and UI UX. Those are very good generalized skills. It's fantastic. Again, if you've got like an energy conservation, I'm just using that as a thing because I worked at an energy conservation company at one of my jobs. If you're interested in that and you've built a project about that, that would be the first project that you list because that's immediately relevant to that company. This is a really good general skills. Like I know how to do auth. I know how to manage lists things in the database. I know how to work with UI UX. Those are great skills to have. You absolutely want to talk about that on the resume. You may have another project though that is highly relevant to what that company actually does, and you would want to promote that on here as well. The last thing I'll mention, I like that you've got a link to your GitHub on here. If I click over to your GitHub and take a look at this, the first thing I'm going to want to see is a README file and how well do you document this. So you got a to-do list. You tell me how to go through and clone it out, how to deploy it. Great. You got a button to one-click deploy to Heroku. Love it. If you built this out as an API, you could go build a Postman collection and, put a link over to Postman, like go check out my API in Postman or whatever, that'll actually go hit Heroku and like let them interact with that API if you want. So I like that you've got all of that on here. What I would love to see is the actual Heroku link. Like, where does this actually live on Heroku? Like, if it's still deployed, is that this Stark Wildwood thing? Like, can I actually click on that and get over to Heroku? Like, I would love to see a live link of like, go experience what I built. If we go back over to my resume sample, that's one of the things that I've got here. Like, go experience the app. As a hiring manager, that stands out a lot more because it shows me not only can you write code and get it on GitHub, you can write working code because now I can go click on it and I can go see what you've built. I can actually go pull that up in my browser. That's way more impressive than just browsing code on GitHub because no offense to anybody, my kids can put code on GitHub, doesn't mean it works, right? And so by having something deployed and putting that deployment link on the resume, it lets me go and experience it and see what you've actually built and go experience what you've built. That's way more powerful. Again, especially if it's something that's really aligned with what that company does, that's going to stand out a lot. Now, if you just have like a general portfolio kind of URL or something like that, and you list that portfolio up here at the top, then that would be another way of kind of showcasing the projects that you made. All right, let's talk about the last layout thing here. This font size is gigantic. You're using a 13-point font on here. My guess is that you're using a 13-point font to fill up the page. If I highlight everything on here and I go back to a 10-point font, this is generally what I tell people to do. Go in, make everything 10-point font. And now we're going to come back in and we're going to kind of rearrange this a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set your name to like maybe an 18-point font. Everything else stays 10-point font. These headings, I might make a 12-point font. Everything else on the page, though, is 10-point font. So look at how much extra room we have on the page now. So even with that long introduction, we've still got about a third of the page that we could fill up with more projects. So don't feel like you have to increase the font just to make it look full. Also, any other kind of professional experience you have, even if it's like working at a restaurant or any kind of retail job where you're interacting with customers, that shows user empathy and good communication skills. So you can put that down at the bottom as like non-technical work experience, and you can also list that. But if you've got additional projects that you've done, I would sooner see those on a resume. So list more than one project on here, because again, it's going to entice them into how you've used these skills that you claim to know up here. So I would shrink everything down to a 10-point font, maybe 11 point at most, but I wouldn't go bigger than 11 point. Anything bigger than that, and it looks like you just made the font really big so you could fill up the page because you didn't have very much to put on the page. But if you've got multiple projects or other things that you've been working on, any kind of open source that you've contributed to, have you helped anybody else with their code where you've done like a code review and you can like link to the code reviews that you've done? Do you participate on sites like Stack Overflow, anything along those lines? If you can list that here at the bottom of the page as well, that also looks really, really good. Some companies are going to care a lot more about where you're going to school than like other professional experience. Like if you go to like a Stanford or an MIT or something like that, you'd probably put the education right at the very top of the resume. For me personally, as a hiring manager, I don't care where you're going to school. I'm still going to ask you to demonstrate your skill. And so I would actually move this education block down to the very bottom. This is just my preference as a hiring manager. Other people don't agree, but I would sooner see the layout like this, where I've got the skills, I see your professional experience, and then if we can get like a couple of projects on here, and then put your education down here at the bottom. We can play with the overall page layout here as far as the margins go. So we can change that bottom margin as well to like a 0.3. And now you got everything on one page and you've got 3 projects on there. And that's with a 10-point font. So again, if we can shrink this up to say 3 lines of text at most. So I just want to visually show you what this could look like. Maybe you have like a 4th line of like, some other, topic here or something like that, where you list out communication skills or agile skills or teamwork or test-driven development or something like that. So let's say you've got 4 lines of technical skill block in here. You've still used the full page by listing other projects. Now, if you don't have other projects, that's okay. But if you have other projects, it looks really good. The other thing that I like to do on the project layout here is give your project a name. Tell me whether it's a solo project or whether it was a group project at school. And then again, if you've got it deployed, I would love to see that. At the very least, you've got the GitHub link on there. You maybe don't have to spell out the whole repo, but you can just put a link that says GitHub. Give me that user empathy statement. Give me a couple of bullet points and then call out your tech stack at the bottom. That's how I like to see projects. You don't necessarily have to say how long the project took, unless it was like a project that you did like 2 years ago, in which case I would want to see like, June 2020 or something like that. That shows me like, oh, okay, well, I'm like IMDb. And so doing a movie related project is like super relevant. But I can also see like, oh, this was like almost 3 years ago that you built that project. So is the technology still up to date? Do you still remember how to do those things? Those would be things that I would be looking for as the hiring manager. Again, the HR people, they're probably going to miss those kinds of details. But I guarantee anybody technical looking at your resume, they're going to be looking at that kind of stuff. The thing with the resumes is you kind of have to get past the applicant tracking system and the HR person and the hiring manager in order to get those phone calls. So it's hard to write a good resume that's going to make it through all of those steps, but it's important that you spend the time to actually like do that work. And I think if you can get a good layout down, I think that it's beneficial for that kind of stuff. So that's my take on it. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me go catch up on chat and see if I missed other stuff. Print-O-Visions. Oh, you got in the giveaway, but we actually drew our recipient for the day. I forgot to mark that in the database, so let me go do that real quick. Let's see, it was Pikachu that got our giveaway for the day. So Pikachu, don't forget to send me a Twitch whisper with your contact info, and then like I said, I'll get you those links on Tuesday for like how to go pick what kind of recipient prize you want. So over on YouTube, Akash was asking, question was about agile project terminologies like acceptance criteria, definition of done, things like retrospectives, and so on. So let me go through some of what those terms mean. I've done a lot of Agile over the years. I've actually had professional Agile, like capital A Agile training. So when we talk about acceptance criteria, this is basically like, how do we know, like, what kind of list of qualifications or checklist can you look at to see that everything that I've asked you to do with that particular ticket has been finished? And that can be things like documentation. It can be things like, you know, check for this feature, add this feature, change this about the database. Generally, the definition of done is also that checklist. So the acceptance criteria and the definition of done are kind of one and the same. They can be different, where the acceptance criteria is like the technical aspect of what you have to go build, where the definition of done is like, did you also do the documentation? Did you also do test coverage? Did did somebody from QA go through and like sign off on this? That's typically more the definition of done. Like, how do we know that this work is actually finished, that we can then move on to the next stage of working towards deploying this code? So the terms can be intermixed, definition of done and acceptance criteria, but sometimes the acceptance criteria is just the technical aspect of, go change this page, add this feature, make sure it looks like this, or go build this form into the page, go change the database, such and such. And then the definition of done is like, you did all the acceptance criteria and you've documented what you've done. You've updated, architecture diagrams. You've done a certain amount of test coverage on it. You've had at least one code review. That can also be like definition of done, where it's like non-technical aspects of actually getting the whole thing finished. So sometimes the acceptance criteria is just the technical portion of it, where the definition of done is like everything, all of the work involved with actually like getting that thing finished. Other terms like retrospectives. Retrospectives tend to be like something that you do. So there's also a sprint. A sprint is a term that we use for an amount of time that we're going to work on some new feature. Like, I want to hang these lights on the wall. I'm going to do that over the next 2 weeks. So that 2-week period is what we call a sprint. And I'm going to hang these lights on the wall over the next 2 weeks. And then you can start building out the acceptance criteria of like, I have to put things on the wall, I have to mount the frames, I have to align all the things, I have to connect them all. The definition of done is like, get it all wired up, make sure that I can hit a button on here and like make them flash and, do a little ta-da music in the background, things along those lines. That could be my definition of done. But I'm going to get that all done within a sprint. Now, at the end of the sprint, you would typically kind of reflect back on like, what did we accomplish over the last 2 weeks and how did that go? And so the retrospective is kind of a way where you typically examine 3 things, like what went well, what didn't go well, and what do we want to change for next time? And sometimes the retrospective, a lot of teams spend a lot more time on what didn't go well, and it turns into kind of a way to complain about things, especially if managers aren't there and it's just the technical team. Sometimes it turns into kind of a complaint fest. And so you have to be careful that you're actually staying on point with like all of the things that are supposed to be in a retrospective around, what went well for us. Like, our communication was actually really good. It was on point, but, we hit this roadblock and we didn't get things deployed, as soon as we thought, or we couldn't make this change because this other team was blocking us from getting something done. So that can be like, we executed well on our portion, but then it got held up on this other thing. So this part went well, this part didn't go well. And then when you talk about like, what do we want to try and do different next time? That's where you don't always have to change something, but the idea of Agile is that you're doing a thing, you're getting some feedback, and you're trying something different. And then you're getting feedback and you're maybe changing something and you're trying something different. So it's this constant rotation of doing a thing, getting some feedback, maybe making a change. Doing a thing, getting some feedback, maybe making a change. You don't always have to change. Me and my teams, we would make our retrospective all about like, what part of our process is working really well for us and which part of that should we absolutely keep doing because it's working great for us. Is there any part of that process that we can try changing just a little bit different? Do we want to try doing fewer stand-ups? Do we want more stand-ups? Do we want our stand-up to be shorter? Do we want it to be longer? Do we want to change our stand-up completely? Because again, the typical stand-up meeting every day that you do, or what can sometimes be called Scrum. Scrum is a different thing from Agile, but it's typically done as part of Agile. The Scrum meeting is typically like, what did you work on yesterday? What are you working on today? But that gets very repetitive sometimes and people don't like that meeting. And so what I would do with my teams is I change that meeting, instead of just what did you work on, what are you working on, I I shortened that meeting to my team so it was super fast in the morning, and it was just go around the group of people and say, what are you stuck on? What do you need help with, and who here can help you with that thing? And so it was a way to kind of unblock the team of, I'm having a problem getting this database thing done. I can't get that thing, or I'm waiting on this other team. It's like, great, I'm going to go hit up that other team and find out what's the holdup, because you're blocking my team from finishing their work. And so it's a way for managers or team leads or so on to get involved with, how do I unblock the team so the team can be more efficient? So that's your daily stand-up. When it comes to planning the work that you do during the sprint, that's typically something that you call backlog grooming. And that's typically a process where you've got a whole layout of work that you want to get done, and you're trying to plan out, like, what do we work on over the next 2 weeks? So we might still be in that 2-week sprint, but as we're getting ready for the next sprint, what do we need to prioritize? What order do we need to do things in? And then how much effort might be involved in that? Is it a little bit of effort? Is it like a big effort? Like, is this going to take me all 2 weeks to hang these lights? Is it going to take me an afternoon to hang these lights? Like, how long do I think this is going to take? And those estimations can be done by the person actually doing the work, or it can be done by like an architect or a team lead saying, on average, I've hung lights like that before. It's probably going to take 2 days. But the person actually doing the work, like if I gave it to my 14-year-old to hang these lights, he's never done it before, it might take him all 2 weeks. And so as a team lead, I need to look at the estimation of how long would it take someone who's done it before, and how long is it going to take someone who's never done it before? Do they need to work together on it so that it doesn't take my 14-year-old 2 weeks? Maybe I can work with them for an hour or two, and now it's only going to take them 3 or 4 days, as opposed to me taking an afternoon, because I've hung these lights like a bunch of times before with other views on my stream and things like that. Like I've done this a bunch now. I can like tear all this off the wall and like hang it back up in a couple of hours. But my 14-year-old, like, he may have watched me do it, or watched me do a portion of it, but he's never been responsible to actually do it himself. And so it would take him longer to do. And so as a team lead, again, I need to make a decision of, do those people work together to get that thing done? Or do we let that person work on it alone because they really want to work on it and they're really interested in? Or do we have a deadline and it's got to be done by tomorrow afternoon? So I need the person that's already done this. I need Ian to go hang those lights, because that has to be done by tomorrow so that it unblocks other people from doing things. And this is the balance that we make as a manager and as a team lead about, do we focus on what people are interested in, or do we focus on, we need to get things done quickly? Because there are different aspects of why you get things done the way you do in the tech industry. So these are all things that you have to communicate about as a team. That can also be part of the retrospective around, like, oh, I felt really left out picking what work I got to work on because I really wanted to learn how to hang those lights and I didn't have that opportunity. It's like, okay, well, how do we do that better for next time? The next time we need to hang lights, I want to make sure we get Ian involved, because Ian really wants to learn that skill. As a hiring manager, as a team lead, I should be invested in your career path enough to make those opportunities available. It's not always possible, but it's kind of my role to make sure that you're developing well and that you're that you're happy working at the company. And you're going to be happiest if you get to work on the things that you want to work on. And so those are also things that we need to consider as team leads and hiring managers, is a balance of strength and interest, and making sure that those are weighed properly with business interests and so on. Pikachu was also asking about private review. What's the difference? So with a private review, basically we get on a call, and I would probably help you build that thing out. We would talk about specific backgrounds, specific jobs that you want to apply to, and how can we change the order of things, and how do you promote different projects and things like that on your resume for specific jobs. It's really easy to put together one generic resume and send that out to everybody, but it also shows to those other companies that it's a very generic resume. Like the resume that you showed where you had JavaScript like later down the list, if you're applying for a JavaScript job and you show me that you've got JavaScript like way down the list, I'm going to read that like Go a lot better than JavaScript. But you're applying for a JavaScript job, but your project also wasn't in JavaScript. So you claim to know JavaScript, but I kind of get like this, feeling of like maybe you don't know it as well as I need you to know it, so I'm less likely to call you. So on the private resume reviews that I do with you, we talk about what kind of jobs are you applying to, what kinds of skills you're going to need to know. Let's figure out how you can format the resume for those kinds of jobs. And now you've got like a JavaScript resume. Now you've got a Go resume. Now you have a Python resume, and now you can send those out. They're still going to be kind of generic in nature, but it's formulated as a Python resume or a JavaScript resume. How do you figure out what kinds of projects to promote on there, that sort of thing. And so I do charge money for that, but all that money goes back into my fundraiser. Now, if you're a student or if you're unemployed, I don't charge you that money. But any money you do pay me, it immediately goes back into the fundraiser that I do. I don't keep any of that money. That 100% goes back into the fundraiser. You can go do !money. You'll see a web page that I made on Tech Interview Guide where I'm like really transparent about all the income that I've made on resume reviews and mock interviews and all that kind of stuff, and how that all goes back into the community. So I don't keep any of that money as a streamer. I make enough money in the tech industry. I've got stock options and investments and all kind of stuff. I do all this for free. I don't do this to make money. I'm just here to help people out. And so anything I can do to help out, I'm happy to do. But if you're in the tech industry and you're just looking for another job and you want like professional opinion on your resume, I'll do it for free on the stream because it helps other people. But if you want a private review, I will ask you for money. But that money goes back into the fundraiser and I match that money. So it's like a double win on all that stuff. What else did I miss in chat? Did I miss anything else? Did someone else hop in the giveaway? So the giveaway is already has already been drawn, but you've got an entry for the monthly giveaway, and that monthly giveaway is that dragon. I can show it again if people are interested in seeing it. Did I miss anything else? I think that was it. So yeah, so Sundays like resume reviews and things like that. If you are sending over a resume review, let me know in chat that you're sending one, and I'll make sure to go pull it up. I do ask that people anonymize their information. If you want your name on there, that's fine. But if you want to anonymize at least your email and your phone number, things like that, that would be great. All right, so we had another public one come in as well as a private one. So we'll pull up the public one here, and we will take a look at this one here. So let's see, this one. General critique, style, keywords, coming from a non-traditional background, looking for an intermediate level role in software development. Sounds good. Acknowledge that everything's okay on the resume as is. And you made it as an export from Figma. Okay, so that's going to be important, and we're going to take a look at how Figma makes a resume. So let's switch back over to the resume review screen, and we're going to take a look at this one. So right away, we can kind of see from the layout point of view, it's a nice layout. It's really crisp, but I also see that that font is also enormous on the page. So again, you don't need to make the font huge in order to fill out content on the page. I would rather see more projects on there. Now, the fact that you're coming from 100 devs, I know that you've got other stuff on here that you can put on here from 100 devs. So that would be something to think about there. You're listing out work experience. You've got all this stuff. You've got the work from 100 devs on here. That could be project-based experience. I know that 100 devs really leads you into this whole mindset of being like a contractor. So you do need to be a little bit careful about, like, was it a project for 100 devs that you did, or was this actual professional experience where you got paid to do that? For me as a hiring manager, if it was just a project that you did for school, that is not the same as professional experience where that code got deployed and it's actually in use by somebody. So I think it's important that you draw that distinction on your resume between professional experience and project experience. Otherwise, I think it can kind of lead to a little bit of over-representation of what you've actually done in your career. All right, so let's pull this up. So I'm not a fan of links that wrap around a page like this. I would rather just see like GitHub as a word and make that a link, and do LinkedIn as a word and make that an actual link instead of like drawing out the whole name on here. Also this Hey Jochen, like, I don't know what that is. Is that Twitter? Like, if I hover over it, I see it's Twitter, but just having the @ username on here, like, I don't know what that is. So I would just, again, make another link called Twitter and like link it over from there. So we'll go take a look at these things as well. Cool. So you're currently doing software development at this place in Chicago, so this is definitely work experience. Software engineer at 100 devs. Again, if you were doing these things to actually get paid as a freelancer, then yes, that is professional experience. Otherwise, it's project experience. It does, or you could list it as education. So you're doing things according to design, provide designers with feedback and so on, ensuring code follows. Yep. So all this stuff is good, but I would be careful of drawing that line between project experience and professional experience here. And then you've got other work, photography and things like that. And then also doing full stack engineer work. So this to me feels more like the freelance work, but this freelance timeline overlaps exactly with your 100 devs. And I know from experience that 100 devs sets you up to do that freelance stuff, but that doesn't mean that you are doing freelance remote work for all 10 months of that timeline. So again, you have to be really careful about overrepresenting what you've actually done. If you were actually working on things from January to October where you're getting paid, then yes, you were a contract web developer. But if this was just stuff you were doing for 100 devs, I think you need to be really careful about overrepresenting your skills because there's a lot of overlap on this page, right? You've got your full stack work and 100 devs at the exact same time, which also overlaps with the photography work. Now, the photography work is very different. So again, you have to be careful about like how are you differentiating between project work and professional work. So we'll deal with that. The biggest thing that stands out to me is how you built this file using Figma. So Figma exported this as a PDF. Watch what happens when I start highlighting the text on this page. So I highlight your first name, I highlight your second name, I come down here, I highlight software developer, I come down here and start to highlight that introduction. Look what happened. It unhighlighted your name, it unhighlighted your title, it skipped all of this and started highlighting other work here and other work down here on the page. And this is the problem with using graphical tools to export a PDF file. So let me show you what happens if I actually highlight all the text on here. I actually can't even do that because of how this works. So I need to download it first. And I'm going to open the PDF file as is, and I'm going to show you the danger of using a tool like Figma. So let me pull up the PDF. So again, here's your PDF. And again, as I'm highlighting things, it kind of highlights in a very interesting, strange way on the page. I'm going to highlight all that text, and I'm just going to go over to like Replit or something. Replit. Just to show you how applicant tracking systems actually see your resume. So I'm just going to do this as a blank template, and I'm just going to paste in that text. Okay. This is how an applicant tracking system sees your resume. This is what it sees top to bottom when it scans your resume. Highly logical, flexible developer. Let me close this up. With a passion, blah, blah, blah. And then immediately into design, develop, test, deploy, maintain, challenge ideas and opinions. And then your name is like way down here. And then it shows your work experience is this, but it's going to stop processing there at this date because it's going to see another date. So it's going to say, okay, well, you're currently at this job, but now I see some other date. So that's got to be something else. And then it sees a phone number and your other contact info. And then it's got your skills block. And then down here at the bottom, it's got like other bullet points, but it's not going to know how to relate this stuff as far as like work experience and so on. And so you have to be really careful about using visual tools to create a PDF file, because you're like any applicant tracking system you send this to is not going to parse this properly. So it's okay to get an idea. What I would do is I would use something like Figma for inspiration for what you want that layout to be. But when you're ready to actually make a resume, you need to use a tool like Microsoft Word or Google Drive, like Google Docs, where you actually like make this a proper file, like a proper word processing file. You can still go in and you can like set your margins and columns and all that kind of stuff to make a multi-column resume similar to what you did over here. If I can find that page again, wherever it went, where did it go? Here. So you can still make it a 2-column layout and you know, color your headings and things like that. Like you can still do all of that work, but do that in Microsoft Word or do it in Google Drive and have that export to PDF, and it's going to export properly top to bottom in 2-column format. And applicant tracking systems are going to be able to parse that much more accurately because what you're probably going to find is that sending this resume out, you're probably not getting very many phone calls. You might get a couple of phone calls, but you're going to get way more phone calls if you go in and improve how this resume gets generated. Because right now, Figma generating this PDF file is not working well. Another way that you can do that is use a site called jobscan.co. What you can do here is when you sign up, they'll give you 5 resume scans for free. And what you want to do is you want to go on here and you want to sign up. You want to upload your PDF file, and then you want to paste in a job post of something that you're interested in applying for. And it's going to figure out how well does this scan in an applicant tracking system and what percentage are you matching that job post. I'm going to guess that you're going to hit pretty low on the keywords and the overall matching because it's not going to scan that text very well. So I would be really careful about using a tool like Figma. Like I said, it's good for the initial layout, but I would say from there, I would probably plan out the layout in something like Google Drive or Microsoft Word and have that export a PDF file, and you're going to get much better results. All right, so let's talk about the intro here. So again, similar to the last resume review, you have to show in a hurry, like there's a term that we use in newspapers called above the fold. And it's basically if you were to fold this piece of paper in half, you know, when you see a newspaper folded in half and kind of stacked up at the grocery store or in a newsstand, the most important, eye-catching, like this is important, this is why you need to pick up the newsletter and read this newspaper, the most important stuff is in the top half of that page. So when I look at this resume, if I were to expand this out and look at the exact halfway point, it's going to be somewhere around here, like the first line or so of 100 devs. So we've got your intro, we've got your current work experience, and maybe the first little bit of 100 devs, and then you've got all this stuff over here on this side of your skills. That's kind of the top half of the page. You need to really show quickly how you're conveying value to that company in the top half of this page. If it's not easy for me to see how you bring value to my company or how you're enticing me that you could bring value to my company, I'm more likely to pass on your resume. Because as an HR person, as a hiring manager, like a technical manager, I'm literally spending 10 seconds looking over this page to go, do you have the keywords on here that we're looking for? Yeah, kind of. Okay, I'm going to put you on my maybe pile, and I'm going to like maybe call you later. If you absolutely show the value and the skill and that you're kind of aligned with my company and what we do, I'm way more likely to say, yeah, I absolutely need to call this person. And you're going to be on my yes pile. You're going to be on my short list of people to call. If it's really hard to find information for the job post on your resume, then I'm probably just going to pass on your resume completely. In fact, I might just straight up delete it out of my database because I don't see any relevance at all. One resume review that we did a year ago, a little over a year ago, I actually had an HR rep on the stream with me, and we went over a whole bunch of resumes. And what we did is we did that 10-second scan. And I'm like, okay, the guy's name is Josh. Josh and I worked at a job previously for several years, and we had a very good working relationship. And I said, okay, Josh, we've got 10 seconds. This is the kind of role that we're hiring for. We're hiring for a software developer job. Here's this resume. Would you call this person or not? And he glanced over the resume and he's like, no. And I glanced over the resume and I'm like, no, I wouldn't either. And so we passed on them completely because they were highlighting all of their experience as a hardware developer. I build circuitry and I make circuit designs, blah, blah, blah. And like one little point that they had like tucked way down at the bottom of their skills block, which was, you know, over on a right column, right down at the very bottom, they listed out like Python development experience. It's like, so you've got one bullet point on this whole page that tells me you're a software developer and you're applying for a software development job. Like, why not promote, like, I'm a Python developer. This is the Python projects that I've been involved in. This is what I know about Python. Like, show me Python on the resume. Show me that you're a software developer. Call yourself a software developer like you do here on your resume. Like, show me that. Otherwise, it looks like you're a hardware developer. And why are you applying for a software job? Like, no, I'm going to pass on your resume because it was so hard for us to figure out, like, why did this hardware person apply for a software job? And we found this one little thing down at the bottom of their list of skills, right at the very bottom. that said they know Python. Now, when we read these lists, we read it in kind of a strength order. This would tell me you know JavaScript better than you know Figma. You know React better than you know Git. You know Angular better than you know Express, because we read things in that order. And so if you tuck Python way down at the bottom of that list, subconsciously we think you don't know Python very well, and we're less likely to call you if it's for a Python job. And so you have to kind of rearrange these skills. You have to rearrange the projects to be really in line with that job post. And you need to really promote, like, you're looking for a JavaScript job, you better show me a lot of JavaScript project and a lot of JavaScript work and knowledge and experience working in JavaScript. Otherwise, you're at best going to be on my maybe pile. More than likely, you're going to be on my no pile, because I got hundreds of these things to scan through and try to find. Like, I'm doing a search in my applicant database, and I'm going to pick out like 20 or 30. I'm going to scan through those. I want to call 10, maybe line up interviews for 5, and maybe hire one of those people. And, you know, and then I'm going to go through that whole thing again. If I've got multiple roles, I might expand that criteria a little bit, but not much. And if I've got hundreds of these resumes to go through, you need to really grab my attention in a hurry and be like, this is why I'm relevant to your company. So let's look through this. So highly logical, flexible developer, passion for determining efficient solutions to complex problems. Excellent, both in working independently and in team environments. So this is good. I'd probably reword it a little bit because the grammar of the wording seemed a little off. Thrives in managing multiple projects and tackling new tasks as priorities shift. So this is also a good skill to have. But this doesn't really convey, like, this is the immediate skill set that I bring to your company. So if I was promoting like a React job, then what I would want to see here is talk about your React experience. You know, I've built out several successful React projects deployed in production. And it's like, okay, cool. You've got production experience with React. I'm probably going to stop reading there and put you on my yes pile just from that alone, because you're telling me you've got production React experience. So that intro has to really grab my attention as to why you're relevant for my job post. If it comes across very generic, like this and the other resume that we looked at, where it's like, I've got good problem solving skills and I've worked with APIs, and it's like, okay, that's good. That's good to have. But that doesn't grab my attention as much as, you know, really hitting me in the face right away of, I've got this exact experience that your job post is looking for. Or if you've got experience in the industry that company is in, talk about, like, you know, we talked earlier, like if you've got a background working at a restaurant and you're looking for a software job, go see if that restaurant chain has software development roles. Or, you know, if it's owned by a parent company, go see if that parent company has like point of sale systems or the little entertainment things on the tables. Like, go see if there's something there that you can work on from a software perspective. But that intro is like, I used to work at this restaurant. I love the company. Even if you don't, you want to lie to them, tell them that you love them. Say, I'm really excited to like come back and apply now as a software developer and bring a whole new level of skill back to the company. And they're like, oh, cool, you're coming back. That's great, because you already know the importance of what they do and how they serve their customers and whatever. So you're a better candidate. Another thing to do here is if you're applying for a job at a company and that company has an API and you've used that API, or they make a library and you've used that library, this whole introduction can be, I'm a user of your software. I love it so much. I want to be part of the team that builds it. Now you're not just a person with technical skill. You're one of our users and you want to come work at the company. That's also equally impressive. So any way that you can really grab their attention is really important. The work experience that you've got here: design, develop, test, deploy, maintain, enhance software solutions. So again, the last resume review we talked about, I did a thing. If you can show the impact that has, that stands out even more. So work proactively with product and UX to refine and iterate on specifications as features take shape. Okay. Challenge ideas and opinions to avoid pitfalls and inefficient solutions. Okay. What's the impact of this though? How did you make the team better by doing this? How did you make the product better by doing this? How many features did you build? How many different designs and prototypes have you made? Like, if you can quantify that impact a little bit And the fact that you're still there means that you can still go grab data, maybe grab some benchmarks like, we improved this code by reducing the overall code base by 20%, increased the speed by 80%, and eliminated 30% of our existing bugs. It's like, that would be an amazing bullet point to see on a resume. You're not always going to be able to grab quantified information like that. But if you can grab quantifiable statistics, especially while you're still at the job, that looks amazing on a resume. But if you can't get quantifiable stats, good, strong action verbs on here though. So I think that this is a good explanation of I did a thing, I did a thing, I did a thing. That's fine. Okay, I want to be clear. This is okay to put on a resume. If you can go the next step and tell me what kind of impact that had at the company, that's going to stand out even more. Especially since you're kind of in that intermediate level, you're going to start to get into system design questions at interviews. So if you can explain a little bit about how you worked on multiple kinds of systems and how they tied in and what that communication was like between these systems, that's going to stand out even more. So the more of that you can explain, the better off this resume is going to stand out as well. Again, 100 devs and the full stack engineer stuff down here at the bottom, they completely overlap as far as timeline. This one is a little bit longer going, so it makes me wonder, like, should this one be down at the bottom? Could you combine these bullet points and these bullet points as kind of like, this was a bit of professional experience and a little bit of project experience. Like, these were the projects that I did, or these bullet points were about the project experience. These bullet points were actual professional freelance experience that I did because of 100 devs. I think you could probably represent that a little bit differently, because right now the timelines are a little bit skewed. It's not perfectly chronological in order. But those would be a couple of things that I would do there. As far as education, I think that this is fine. If it's not as relevant to like a technical background, putting that stuff down here is fine. You could also list 100 devs as education as well. When we look at the skills block, again, attention to detail, JavaScript has a capital S. It's React.js, Vue.js. Angular, I think, is just Angular. So just making sure that you're spelling things appropriately, like Express.js. If you've worked with MongoDB, which I think you do at 100 devs, get MongoDB on here. Now, if you're not comfortable answering questions about MongoDB, then you can leave it off. But if you've got experience in that, it hits as a keyword. Put it down at the bottom of the list where it shows that maybe you're not as comfortable with MongoDB, but you've at least used some kind of ORM to talk to MongoDB. So having at least the keywords on there, you're going to find you're going to get more traction. You're going to get more phone calls and things like that from recruiters because you're going to hit on more of those keywords. Excuse me for a sec while I hydrate. So you were also asking in chat, would you submit a Word doc, a docx, a doc, or a PDF? So I've heard different opinions on this. There's a colleague that I've had on my very first stream. His name is Jonan. And Jonan used to live stream here on Twitch, and I miss Jonan. Jonan's got great opinions on things. Again, different perspective, but he's also been a hiring manager. But if you go check out the channel called The Jonan Show on Twitch, if he ever streams again, and I hope he does, he's got some really good opinions as well. Jonan believes very much that PDF files are made for humans and doc files are made for applicant tracking systems. I think that if your PDF file gets generated properly, you can just submit a PDF file. You don't need both. You don't want to submit both to an applicant tracking system because when it shows up in their system, they're not going to know whether to look at the doc file or the PDF file. Does it really matter? I would say if they give you the choice of one or the other, whichever one is more convenient for you to actually build and export, as long as it's formatting properly. And like I showed you, like if you can kind of highlight all of the text on here, like just load it up, hit Control A or Command A, copy that, paste it into like just a plain text editor like VS Code or something like that. Just paste it in there and you'll see what the format of that actually turns out to be. So here's my resume sample, for example. If I come in here and I grab all of this text and I go back over to Replit and I paste all that in here, there's my name, there's my contact info, here's my skills block, here's my technical experience. So this all shows up in the right order. So that's one thing that you want to check So as soon as you save that PDF file, open that PDF file in your browser, similar to what we did here, highlight all the text in here, but use Control A or Command A depending on the platform that you're on. Don't come through and try to highlight everything with your mouse, because if it looks janky like this, then you already know it's not going to work the way that got generated. But just come in here, hit Control A or Command A, copy, paste it into a text editor, and you'll actually see the format of what comes back from there. Down here at the bottom, you've got kind of this empty hole down here at the bottom because your right column doesn't go quite that far. Again, you could fill up your skills block with other things. You've got a little bit of extra space between the skills block and your education block, but you don't really have that same amount of space between your contact info and your skills block. You could probably bring this down an extra line, just so it looks like you've got the same amount of empty space between this header and this last piece of text. You want that same kind of amount of space in between here as well. But I think you could probably expand out the skills list here a little bit. I would also love to see, like, which of these skills do you use currently at the job versus which of these skills did you use at 100 Devs or in your freelance work. Again, though, I think the font size on here is a little bit big. I think you could shrink the font size down a little bit. Do you want to stay with a 2-column format? Do you want to move to more of a 1-column format? You know, this is a pretty clean, like, single column format where you can, you know, kind of lay things out horizontally across the page, like your skills block. That would leave a lot more room for multiple projects. If you had multiple projects that you want to list on there, again, you want to list projects that are really relevant to that company. So anything that you can do to try to find the relevancy there of how you're relevant to that company, any technologies, any projects, anything like that, you absolutely want to really promote on that resume as well. Cool. So hopefully that helps out. Again, if you want to, like, reformat anything, have me take another look, you're absolutely welcome to submit that over and over. We've reviewed, like, other resumes like 3 or 4 times as people go in and make iterative changes and things like that. So. C Films, good to see you in chat as well. Haven't seen you around in a minute. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, happy to help out on that kind of thing. We did have a private resume review come in, I think from Whip. So Whip will, I'll contact you and we'll chat about that offline. Cool. All right. So again, if you want a resume review, I do them on Sundays. You're welcome to submit them. Anything that kind of gets batched up now, I'll wait until next Sunday to go through. We've been streaming for about 3 hours, so I'll probably stop with the resume reviews. We've done our daily giveaway for today, but if you want to get in on the monthly giveaway, you can still enter ! giveaway in chat on Twitch. It won't work on YouTube or on Kick, but if you come over to Twitch and you do ! giveaway in chat, let me show you the monthly giveaway. So we already did the daily giveaway. Again, that catalog is going to get built on Tuesday, so you can come hang out on the Tuesday stream. And you'll see, like, how I build that thing out and how you can go in and choose like what you want your giveaway prize to be. But the monthly giveaway is going to be like a big airbrushed 3D dragon like this, and it does come apart, so it'll ship in pieces, and you'll assemble it yourself, and you can just crazy glue it together. Or if you're into 3D printing and you have 3D gloop, it's a really good adhesive for this. Is just PLA plastic. And you'll just attach it yourself. And there's little horns that go on the back of the head. You can see those little holes in the back of his head. So there's horns that go on his head, and there's little horns that come off the back of the wings as well. But otherwise, you'll attach all that. I've got more airbrushing to do. I'll be airbrushing this on Thursday. So Thursday is kind of my creative night for doing things like 3D printing and painting. Tuesday is programming. So Tuesday I'm going to be working through, like, how do I look through a whole folder of images and kind of build out categories of like an image catalog so that people can go in and say, I want this as my giveaway gift. And so I'll be going through and, like, because I need to go through and exclude a bunch of things that I'm not going to be doing as giveaways because they're like really enormous signs or things like that. Like, I'm not gonna give away a big enormous sign as a giveaway. I'm thinking more like, what are the things that I can just 3D print on a little card like this. Whether it's an inspirational saying or a dad joke or something funny like that. This is more like what we're going to be giving away on a daily basis on the stream, or like a little 3D sign like this. This one I'm actually going to go through and paint probably later tonight. I may go put a little bit of paint on this, and then we'll give that away as one of our giveaway things if someone wants it. That's the kind of thing that we're going to give away on the daily streams. So that'll be Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and I may throw in the occasional extra stream from time to time. So if I realize like, oh, I need to go fix something in the chat bot, or I want to go work on StreamerBot where I want to build a whole new giveaway system, I'll probably be streaming about how I'm going to do that, because I've got to learn some C# and I need to learn the StreamerBot API to figure out how to tie those things in. I also want to go get all of the YouTube chat and the Twitch chat and merge all of that onto Discord and have Discord show up over here. So that, all of the chat. So if you're on Twitch and you're chatting, it'll go into Discord. If you're on YouTube, it'll go into Discord. And then all of that Discord chat is going to show up over here. So that way we'll see a better merge of all of that content together. Plus, it'll keep our Discord community a little bit bigger. You won't need to have a Discord account for that to happen. Every time I say the name of the service, the thing is picking up the little voice prompt or whatever to put the link in there. So go check out our Discord community if you want. It's probably going to put it in there again. I'll go drop that link over on YouTube as well, and I'll drop it again over on Kick in case anybody's viewing over there. We had another question come in on YouTube. I have a small query from an earlier point. Would it be correct to consider Scrum as part of Agile? Scrum is typically used in Agile, but Scrum is also used in other methodologies such as Kanban and like extreme programming and Lean and things like that. So there's lots of different ways of how you do the work. So things like Agile, Lean, XP, Kanban, and then Scrum is kind of like the daily stand-up or some regular period of stand-up. So it doesn't have to be daily. It can be like every other day or once a week. It depends on what your team wants to do. And then how you conduct that sort of stand-up meeting. Is it asynchronous? Does everybody just kind of write on chat what they're working on? Or is it a live kind of thing where everybody's on a call? Or are you in person? Are you in person and remote? How do you combine all of that stuff together? Basically, so everybody's on the same page. And then the format of that meeting, are you going through and everybody's talking about everything I did yesterday, everything I'm doing today? Or do you want to do it like I did my meetings, where it was like, I don't care what you did yesterday or what you're doing today. What are you stuck on? Like, where do you need help? And if you're not stuck on anything, go get to work. But if you're stuck on something and somebody here can help you, then we need to have that conversation now. And everybody's going to listen in on that conversation because everybody's got a perspective. Everybody's going to have ideas on how a problem could get solved. And so I would say, everybody stick around. We're going to solve this problem, figure out what needs to be done. Or if it's another team, I'm going to go grab that team and I'm going to bring them into this conversation. We're going to talk about, why is this blocked? How can we unblock? How can we do this better? And then part of the retrospective then later on is like, how do we not let that happen again? Like, what do we need to do? Do we need to give them more notice next time? Do they need to build things like a month in advance so that it's ready for us by the time we need to get things done? That can all be part of our acceptance criteria and all that kind of stuff. And so all of that plays in. So Scrum is typically done as part of Agile, but Scrum is separate enough that it can be used in other methodologies besides Agile. A lot of people think it's the same thing. A lot of people think, oh, the daily stand-up, that's part of Agile. It's actually Scrum. Scrum's a different thing. Typically done together, though. Cool. I'm happy to take more questions. If you got other things going on, I'm happy to, always happy to chat with folks and chat about what's going on. I'm going to go look up a couple things here on the side. If there are other questions, absolutely get those in. I want to go take a look at a couple other things of what's going on today. So typically on Sunday, like I like to raid into a stream that's doing something similar to IM. So if I'm doing software on Tuesdays, I want to raid into another software channel. On Thursdays, when I'm doing maker stuff, I want to raid into another maker channel. Not too many people help with career prep and interview prep and resume reviews and things like that. So those aren't typically showing up on Sundays when I go see who else is streaming. Please don't shoot also adds in the Twitch chat as well. To build up on Scrum and Agile, do you have input regarding the BA role, positive and negative traits that you've experienced, which have helped and hindered the progress of projects you are involved in? So BA means a lot of different things. I'm thinking like business analyst. So if you want to define a little bit more about like what you mean by BA role, I'm happy to share my experience on that. Yeah, business analyst. Okay. So I mean, it depends a little bit on the company and whether they even have business analysts. I would typically think of them more as like the product manager or the project. It would be more the product manager of like, what are we building and why? It's not so much like analyzing what you've done after the fact, but it's more like this is why we're building the thing that we're being asked to build. Um, so like, who's asking for it? Like, which customers have asked us to build this thing, or is this just this is our contract, this is what we're building, or is it this is the direction that the company's going, therefore we are building this thing. These all play a part in some of that. So um, I have had product managers in the past who come from a technical background, who were programmers, who would try to dictate to my team, this is what I want you to build and this is how I want you to build it. And I would always push back on them and say, it's not up to you to determine how we build something. It's up to me and my team how we build it. You tell us what you want built. We will tell you whether it's possible with how we want to do it. But one thing that I would always stand up for, whether I was a team lead or the director of engineering at this role, is you would not dictate to me how we get our job done. I will tell you how we were going to get it done if you really care to know the technical details. But other than that, it's up to me and my team to determine how we get something done. You tell us the what and the why. Telling us the why gives us a bigger picture into how this work fits into the bigger picture of things. Just being told, like, go build this thing. It's like, okay, but why? Like, okay, I'll go build the thing, but it would be nice to know why. If you can get the why in there, then you tend to get a little more buy-in from people. It's like, oh, cool, okay, I understand how this fits in, with everything else that we do as a business. Or, oh, okay, I get why we're building this out for, a step towards this other bigger goal of what we're trying to do as a company. Like, it really helps to provide the why. But otherwise, the product manager is in charge of the what. The business analysts, they usually come in like after the fact, and they talk about like, okay, this was the impact that had, or this is how much revenue that we've made based on that thing. Or sometimes it'll analyze like, these are the kinds of things that we need to build. But that would be more at a management level and less impacting my team. But I would be involved in those conversations, even as a team lead or as an architect. I would be involved in those meetings about what we want to build, and I can start to question why, and I can challenge them on things in a way that I'm still supportive of their idea, but really challenging, like, do we have to do it this particular way? Or more likely what it was is they would say, we need you to go build this interface. And I'd be like, well, I can't build that interface until we build out this database thing. So when are we going to do that? And they'd be like, well, the database isn't going to be done for like another 2 months. It's like, well, we can't do the interface until that database is done. So how do we reprioritize this? Or do we push this work off as well 2 months? Because we literally cannot build this until this database thing is done. And just being able to clarify from the technical perspective about the priority of when things get done. So the product manager would say, we need this, we need this, we need this. It's like, I need these lights hung on the wall. It's like, okay, well, I have to print the hexagon grid thing first. And then I need to print all the little things that actually hold the hexagon thing on the wall. And then I need to print the frame that those lights actually click into. So I can't hang the lights on the wall until I get all those other things done. And it's going to take a week to print all the hexagon things. So it's going to be at least a week plus, because I also have to print the frames. That's going to take a couple of days. And then I've got to hang all these things, and I've got to line everything up. And then I can actually hang the lights. And then we can do things like channel point redemptions, where you can go in and you can set the lights to crazy colors and whatever. But I have to do things in a particular order. And so that would be my job as a team lead or as an architect or as a director of engineering, of understanding enough about our technology base to be able to push back on the order that things get done. Or to also bring up in that meeting, it's like, okay, well, you need these 10 things done, but my team has to fix a bunch of code and we need to rebuild a bunch of infrastructure for some of this to even happen. So some of that has to happen before any of these other things get tackled. That's going to take us 3 weeks. So all of this other stuff that you want to get done is going to have to get pushed out 3 weeks. And just really standing up for my team and being able to, win things for my team that my team wants to do or needs to do. That, we're still keeping busy, but I'm not overworking my team with like, oh, we got these 10 things to do and we also have to do this rewrite all at the same time. Like, that's too much to put on a team. You can't just hire new people to make that kind of stuff happen. Sometimes you have to do things in a particular order and let it kind of settle and work out properly, and then you can build the next piece. It's the same kind of thing with software. So that would typically be how I would push back on like a product manager. The business analyst side is typically a little bit different, or it's treated a little different as far as that is regarded. Because again, the business analysts are usually coming in after the fact and saying, okay, this was the impact that had. So that again, you're kind of playing into the why of like, hey, we built that thing, and we raised our monthly revenue by $1 million a month or whatever. So good job, everybody. That kind of thing. Not that we would ever see, or I mean, maybe you would see like a fraction of that as like a profit share or something like that, or everybody gets extra equity, or our equity is going to go up because we've done this thing. So our equity, our next valuation is going to increase by such and such, and so all your equity is now worth X dollars more or whatever. So good job, everybody. Like being able to share that kind of stuff after the fact. Sometimes the business analyst would come in and say, based on the number of customers we have, if we take this enterprise feature and we move it down into more of like a intermediate tier where they don't have to pay like $1,000 a month, they pay like $10 a month, we're going to get such and such adoption, but it's going to put other strain on this other part of the system and whatever. Sometimes they'll come in and they'll do that sort of thing. But even the business analyst would still be working with a technology team on what to build and why, so that we're building things in the right order. So I hope that answers your question. That's my experience, at least, working with that. If others in chat have background or experience, I'm absolutely cool with like people chiming in and saying like, I've worked with business analysts and whatever. Feel free always to communicate in chat and share your own ideas and opinions. I'm all about like helping each other out with that. So if other folks have ideas and perspectives, please share those as well. Aurelia is also asking on YouTube, I'd also like to know if Scrum and daily stand-up meeting is basically refer to the same thing. Yes. Yeah. So Scrum is Scrum is a term that comes from rugby, where everybody kind of huddles together and they kind of decide on like what's the plan, and the Scrum huddle is kind of how you get things started, and that's how it got the term. And so the stand-up meeting is really like, how do we kind of huddle up as a team, decide on our strategy, and then we go play, or we go do our work. So Pikachu says, thanks for streaming. We'll try to come by regularly. Appreciate it. Left my request for a private review. Awesome. Yeah, I'll reach out to you and we'll chat about that. Someone set the colors over to Minecraft, so we get some nice earth tones and browns and stuff in there. So cool. So yeah, we got lots of fun things. I used to let people control the Govy lights. I think the Govy light thing might be broken. But I had like I've got this strip down here that's now activated with my voice, and I've got another one along the ceiling that you can't really see unless I tip this thing up. Then you see the one like way up there. But that one's also kind of activated on my voice right now. So it's mostly just the Nanoleaf ones right now. But eventually I want to have that a little more interactive. I'm thinking about putting this stripy one like along the corner of the wall here, instead of like being down behind me, because it, the way that my chair kind of sits here kind of blocks most of that light. But it also might be too distracting to have most of that light in that corner. But I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, anyway, as I was saying, when I typically raid out, I want to try to find someone else who's like helping out with like career stuff or things like that. But that's really hard to come up with on Sundays, because there aren't that many people that do career related things anyway, especially not on Sundays. So I will go find someone else to raid into. Let's go see what other people are up to. Got people working on t-shirts. We got people working on puzzles and playing chess. Browser extensions. Browser extension for a phone. Sounds kind of cool. Hey, maybe we'll go raid into somebody that I've never raided before. We'll go make a new friend. Cool, let's do that. I've got a raid message that I'm going to pull up here. This is going to go grab a dad joke, because I'm all about the dad jokes. So please do me a favor. We're going to go raid over to this other channel, but copy this from chat. If you're over on Twitch, we're going to go raid over to Silly V. But do me a favor and copy and paste that in chat when we get over there. Appreciate that. We'll see everybody on Tuesday. So Tuesday I'm going to be working on code for the giveaway stuff. And then Thursday I'll be doing airbrushing. So every time I stream, come by, enter that giveaway, and we'll catch you. You like that dad joke? Always knock on the fridge door before opening in case there's a salad dressing. Ah, yeah. Cool. They do flag their channel as being for mature audiences, so I cannot speak to the quality of language or anything like that. But it's somebody new. They're part of Team Moco Loco, so I'm gonna go support them. So be respectful when we get over there, and we'll see y'all on Tuesday. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for the giveaway stuff, and we'll chat with you soon. Cheers.